Naruto DxD, Purpose of Living. Volume 1, The High School Life Begin. Chapter 19. I see, so it will be a showdown with the Citri group. After the meeting, everyone had returned to the Gremory family's main residence. The one who had welcomed them there was Azazel. Everyone had gathered in the wide living room and given their teacher an account of the meeting from a short while ago. Naruto's peerage had decided to part away on way to Gremory Castle to do their mission. Unlike Ria's servants, the girls decided to finish all their missions before they could have more times to training with Naruto. Yubaluna and Ravel were the only ones who stayed with Naruto, and currently the Bomb Queen was scolding. Why? It pretty clear that the higher-ups wanted to limit the rating games match Naruto and his peerage could join, giving an excuse that Naruto was too strong for any current peerage aside for Sarorg's peerage, and that he still didn't have any rating games knowledge experience at all when he was young. After the discussion ended, they had decided that 6 other devils would fight each other to decide who would be the strongest young devil and then meet Naruto in the match, giving him enough time to prepare and received all the information he needed to know about rating game before he could join one. Like hell I'll needed that, Naruto thought inside of his head. Having a childhood friend now turned girlfriend who absolutely loved rating game just like Japan wasn't just for show either. Today is July 28th, in human world time. So we have about 20 days until the showdown day. Azazel muttered. Rias and peerage would have 20 days for training, plenty of times to improve themselves. Rias had been really determined to win all the match and face against Naruto at the end of summer. To do that everyone including herself needed to grow stronger than ever. They still didn't know how far Naruto's peerage had improved their strength, but Naruto himself wasn't only stronger than any of them, but he also really good strategic. Someone like him would be the most dangerous enemy to face on the battlefield. However, this was the perfect opportunity to prove themselves to Naruto. Is it for the training? Issei asked and Azazel nodded his head. Naturally. I plan for you to start from tomorrow onwards. I've already considered each of your training menus. But, is it okay for only us to receive advice from the fallen angel governor? Isn't that foul play? Not really. I intend to give data to the various members of the devil side, you know? Also, the angel side is said to also be doing a backing up system. The rest depends on the pride of the young devils themselves. If they think from the bottom of their hearts that they want to get stronger and raise their original duration, they'll take the help wholeheartedly. Plus, I will be helping all of you training anyway. Naruto looked at them. Azazel-sensei could give the training's method to the one that have sacred gear while I will help Rias-chan and Akino-chan training with their power. Thank you Naruto-sama. Akino smiled to him. Rias nodded her head in understanding. Naruto knew that the Black Hair Queen wouldn't feel comfortable with Azazel train her, so he decided to step in. He had knew about all Ria's strength and weakness and was helping her improve all of them. It's to the extent that even my vice-governor is also giving advice to each of the families. Ha ha ha. Shimhaza's advice may even be more helpful than mine. Azazel scratched his chin. Well, it's fine if we have Naruto-kun at our side, it would be a lot easier for all of us. Gather in the garden tomorrow morning. I'll give each of you your training methods then. Be ready. Yes. All the club members responded to Azazel's words once more. The door of the living room suddenly opened and Graphia stepped in. She stood in front of everyone before saying, "Everyone, the hot spring bath is ready." Somehow, Naruto got a bad feeling about this. Well, I guess I was wrong then. Naruto smiled in satisfaction when he submerging himself into the hot water. The Gremory's resident sure had a good hot spring. He used to bath in this hot spring with everyone when he was young, but stopped after he reached puberty despite Rias always pulled him here to bath with her. When going on a trip, Azazel hummed a tune while sitting at the other corner of the bath for male. He also let out his 12 black wings to fully relax. Ha 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 ha, as expected, when speaking of the underworld, of hell, it's the hot springs. Moreover, when it comes to the distinguished Gremory family's private hot spring, one of the best in the underworld, a great spring is also a great spring. Kiba and Issei also had matching towels on our heads and had submerged themselves in the hot water. Issei-kun, shalivosh yorbak? Kiba suddenly asked, which made Issei nearly freaked out by the sudden words of Kiba. Aside from the pervert Issei, Naruto wondered if all the boys in Rias' peerage had problem with gender and all of them was weird people in more way than one. Stop saying stuff like that. Issei screamed out and climbed out of the bath and caught the sight of Gasper at the entrance. He was wrapping the tower around himself just like any girl would, however he clearly wasn't a girl despite the fact that he looked exactly like one. Hey, come on, you have to enter since it's a hot spring. Issei caught Gasper's hand and pulled him to the hot spring. Kaya, the cross-dresser screamed out in a cute manner, Kaya. You really, wait, don't roll up your towel all the way up to your chest, you aren't a girl, damn it. He looked like a girl. He had a thin body and a girlish face. Why are you a man when you're like this? Issei yelled with so much frustration in his voice and was staring at Gasper. Please don't look at me like that. He blushed and spoke. Igriegaju. Don't put up your towel all the way to your chest if you're a guy. Because you always dress like a girl, it's confusing for me as well. And no way, you were looking at me like that, Ise-senpai? I feel like my body is in danger. Shut up. Naruto was trying his best not to bust out in laughter at the argument between a pervert and a cross-dresser. It was truly entertainment to watch every day. With no control left, Issei threw Gasper into the bath, making the boy screamed out. No. It's Hoothoot. I'm multi-theorying. Ise-senpai is perverted. Well, that was something I like to say all the time, Naruto muttered with a chuckle. Issei, you can't sexually harass Gasper, you know? Ria's voice held a teasing tone to Issei as she said from the other side of the bath, which was the female bath of the hot spring. Naruto also heard giggle coming from the other side, making the pervert boy sank deeply into the water with only his eyes on the surface. His face was red due to the embarrassment, not the heat. Hey Naruto-kun. Azazel looked at him. I heard that you grow up here with Rias and the other, aren't you? Yeah, with Rias-chan, Akino-chan and Nico-chan. Naruto nodded his head. This hot spring used to be one large bath. We used to share this bath together, but after 14 years old I decided to put the separated gate at the middle to separate this hot spring. Damn senpai, you should have left it like it was. Issei shouted under the water. You sure are a lucky bastard, grow up in a place like this with 3 beautiful girls. Azazel smirked and then turned to Issei, by the way, Ise. And made a lewd face. Yes? Have you rubbed Asia-chan's cute breasts? Azazel asked that while squeezing the fingers of both of his hands in the air. Why yes. With my right hand. Issei also gestured with his right hand in the air. Naruto sighed. Why the hell wherever he went he was always stuck with pervert. Naruto really wondered if his past life was also the same like this. While most of the time he felt like punched them in the face for being too annoying, he had absolutely nothing against them, it just that they couldn't control their urge in public, that's all. I see. Then, how about, nodding his head, Azazel thrust his index finger forward horizontally and spoke, have you poked a woman's nipple with your finger? And no, not yet. What's with you? You haven't poked nipples with your finger? You poke a nipple not with a press, but with a squish. Burying the finger into the breast is the best part, you know? Seeing Issei's reaction, Azazel sighed longingly. And nipples aren't front door buzzers. No, it is close to a buzzer. When you push it, it rings, Hien. Azazel said with a sly smile. And here Naruto wondered why Azazel fell in the first place. Breasts and nipples have such a function. I thought breasts were only for rubbing, sucking, and holding between them. I see, so it can be poked and made to make noise. And the fallen angel patted Issei's head. That's why you still have some way to go. A woman's breasts are infinite. Handled correctly, they are packed full of infinite possibilities, more than the Uroboros Ophis, you know? Because I was fascinated with them, I plunged into the breasts of women and fell. I don't regret it. Sensei, I want to poke breasts. While tears flowing down his cheeks, Issei spoke to Sensei with a trembling voice. Yeah, you two could keep them to you, I'm out of here. Naruto stood up and walked out of the bath, but before he could step one more step, his devil's exchange hearing kicked in and he could hear every word from the girl's bath. Era, Rias. Did your bust get bigger again? Can I touch it a little? Really? Your way of touching is a little indecent. Rather, didn't your bra cup change more than mine, Akino? My old one was still fine even though it was a bit tight. However, recently, I've been thinking that it wouldn't be bad to show it off in a bigger way. A woman becomes bolder when she has a partner she'd like to show it to, Rias. That's true, but I'm envious of how big you two are. Era, Ravel-chan, Asia-chan, hasn't yours also gotten bigger than before? Is that so? But, if they're only this big, I can't seem to be able to come to like it. Ravel, did you hear the talk of how they become bigger if you rub them? Like this? Han. Don't. Ria-sama. Ewan, Naruto-sama still hasn't done this kind of thing to me. Era, it's good to be young, isn't it, Rias? By the way, based on this feeling, you really have been getting bigger every day, haven't you? I wonder if Naruto-sama rubbed them every day to make it bigger. Fufu, I'm afraid with this rate yours will soon bigger than mine. Akino, cut it out, release your hands from my breasts. The movements of your hands are, on. Where did you learn such a thing? Rias breasts, what a nice sensation, ufufu. I'll do this here and. No, no, only he, stop Akino. Naruto really needed a cold shower right now. But before he could step out of here, Azazel suddenly grabbed his wrist and with a mighty pull, he threw the blonde into the air. What the hell? Naruto screamed out, but before he knew it, his body had connected with the water surface a little too hard, but it wasn't much force to him. Based on the feeling, he was still in the hot spring. Naruto stood up and wiped all the water out of his face and his hair out of the way. And the first thing he saw nearly made him had a nosebleed. All the girls were in front of him, and all of them were naked as well. Asia was the first one to react as she screamed out in shock, covered her body and sank back to the water. Luckily for him, someone still had a little modest in their mind. He heard the door close behind him and knew that the former nun had run out of the hot spring. However, there were still 7 other she-devils standing in front of him. Era. Naruto-sama, Akino said with a deep blush, her eyes glued to the slowly hardening cock. Were you thrown over by Azazel? Ufufu, Naruto-kun. You're so daring. Rias walked closer to him and pressed her body at his front, her breasts rubbing slightly against his toned chest. Naruto-kun, I caught you. Seeing that and didn't want to be left out, Akino quickly came closer to Naruto as well and hugged him from behind. The feeling of their soft and firm breasts against his body was driving his hormones wild. At this rate, he thought he wouldn't be able to control his body anymore. Ufufu, as your queen, I couldn't let them take care of my king while I'm here. Yubaluna smiled slyly while looking Naruto up and down. His body was way better than her former master, his muscle was as hard as steel but didn't overly like most bodybuilder, everything was in the right place. The purple hair queen hugged her body tight against Naruto's left arm and enjoyed his muscular arm against her body. Akino. Yubaluna, get away from my Naruto-kun. Rias wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck and tried to snatch him away from both Akino and Yubaluna. However, both queens was having a really firm grip while clinging to Naruto from behind and the front. No way. I've decided to enjoy the hot springs with Naruto-sama. I'm already heating up our bodies by clinging like this. Naruto-sama body feels so good just by touching it like this. Akino clung to him even more firmly. Her large breasts are pressing so tight to him that it's like they'll fuse with his body. Stop it. Naruto-kun's body is mine? It's the fruits of my labor that made the sensation of embracing him like this the best. From his hair to his entire body, everything is mine. Ah. Somehow, I'm feeling sensitive. Is this because of what Akino did just before, or is it because I'm touching Naruto-kun? As the fight over Naruto continued, Ravel and Kaneko was looking at each other with half of their face underneath the water. At least Ravel's body was still growing and hoping that someday it would turn more attractive and suit her fiancé's/master's taste more. Alright Ravel, Naruto smiled, show me your best wings flame. After the bath, Naruto decided to start personally train his peerage, while sending the clones for each one of them he wanted to train Ravel himself. Ravel nodded before closing her eyes, gathering as much magical power into her inner flame before releasing them all at once from her back, creating a pair of large waves like wings flame from her back. Good, Naruto nodded his head when Ravel's body slowly hovering above the ground, an effect of her phoenix wings power, but you're wasting your magical energy to fuel your flame, there's a lot of magical power being released all at once. But, this is how my family normally create our wings. For example, Naruto summoned an incomplete Rasengan on his right palm and completed on his left palm. Can you tell the difference between them? Ravel turned her eyes slowly between the 2 Rasengan. She could see the left one is glowing and the swirling energy is swirling faster than the right one. Plus the Rasengan on the right was radiating some unseeable energy that could not see with the human eyes. She then come to a conclusion. This one is more stable than this one. Ravel pointed her finger from left to right. You're correct, he smiled with a nod. This Rasengan is in the same condition as your power, it has power yes, but little to no control. Today we will train you in power control. For the rest of the day Naruto trained Ravel in her power control, helping the youngest child of Phoenix family control her flaming power better. Ravel took everything Naruto tell her to heart and tried her hardest to make his speech happen. He was very proud of his fiancée's determination and her hard work. Some of his clones disappeared, sending the memories of the rest of his peerage training to him. Naruto was sure he would be more than ready to take on the raiding game. Arc 2, The Shinobi of Konoha. Naruto DxD, Purpose of Living. Chapter 20. Memories. Good Ravel, now, heat up. Naruto, with his feature coated in golden-like energy and a long cloak in the same color with black lines on his body, shouted to his fiancées as the both of them was training very seriously. Hi, Naruto-sama. Rias Gremory, Naruto's beloved girlfriend and her whole peerage paled at the intense training while trying to get used to the powerful forces of demonic energy created by Ravel Phoenix. Interesting, Surzex Lucifer, Rias' brother, and the Crimson Mao of the underworld mused as he watched Ravel created a powerful wave of flame toward Naruto. It looks like that cloak not only increase Ravel's demonic energy but also gain her stamina, speed as well as protection. True enough, Ravel was having the same cloak at Naruto on her smaller frame, with the same black lines and radiant energy. Despite of sparring with Naruto for nearly an hour now, Ravel didn't look tired in the slightest. The control over her magic is getting better as well. It seems that Ravel is a wizard type, and I think that Naruto has realized that as well. Azazel nodded his head, using his hand to scratch his beard when Naruto blown away the wave of flame with his hands. Keep this one, and also with Naruto keep on bumping her endless energy like this, she will be as strong as her eldest brother in no time. And we supposed to fight with monsters like that? Issei shouted, clearly voiced out everyone's thought. You got to be kidding me. Oh, you have no idea, the leader of Fallen Angel smirked evilly. This is just the tip of the gigantic iceberg. The real problem is the rest of his peerage. Those girls has grown from lovers of a certain phoenix to well-trained warrior by using Naruto's training methods. A strong king, a loyal queen, a bishop who is very understanding to the king himself, and not to mention very intelligent in tactics, and the rest of the peerage sins with each other in a way no one had ever seen before. Surzex sighed with a smile before standing straight up. Their skills balance each other. I don't think I can see such peerage like this ever since Belial became the king of raiding game. Again, Rias couldn't believe that she would have to face him if she was able to push through to the final. Naruto grinned when Ravel attacked him again with a dozen of fireballs heading toward him with such heat that even with one of his strongest state Naruto could clearly feel it on his skin. But still, it was 10 years too soon for Ravel to think that she got him with this. In a flash, Naruto's body disappeared as he moved with extreme speed toward Ravel without getting hit by any fireballs, moving in a zigzag formation, and used his hand to swap away any fireballs that got too close. Ravel took several steps aback when she saw the yellow flash of lightning slowly getting close to her, losing her balance and fell down to the ground. If not for Naruto immediately appeared and caught her in his hands. Careful, he grinned and helped Ravel get on her feet before returning to his normal state, at the same time making the cloak Ravel was wearing disappeared as well. Thank you, Naruto-sama, Ravel smiled at him. So, how did I do, Naruto-sama? She asked hopefully. Your fire, no doubt stronger than Razor Team now even without my cloak, Naruto commented. Your control is better and the heat is much higher than before. I could feel it even with one of my strongest form. He then patted her head. You will be as strong as Ruvel-san soon. Don't joke like that, Naruto-sama. Ravel slapped his hand away, making the older blonde chuckled. But still, you're so strong, Naruto-sama. I can feel that your power continuous transferred into me for as long as the spar lasted. Just how much energy do you have? Well, Naruto scratched the back of his head, he always wondering that. That golden state was more or less came from Kurama. I really don't know. Naruto could fight for days without getting tired, proving that his stamina was way too high even for an ultimate class power devil. Ravel shrugged her shoulders, grabbing a bottle of water and drink from it. Currently, Naruto was deep in thought. Speaking of which, the boyfriend of Rias Gremory scratched his chin. Maybe it time to line break. Graphia, do you know where Naruto-kun is? Rias asked Graphia about their boyfriend, for the later he was also her master. This morning after finishing the training with Ravel and the other girls of his peerage, Rias planned to ask Naruto to go shopping with her, but the next moment she took his eyes away from her. He disappeared without a trace. She was expecting him to be here with Graphia, but Rias was very surprised to find the maid alone and ironing Naruto's clothes. I thought he's with you, Oju-sama, Graphia replied before returning back to what she was doing. Guess I was wrong. She then picked up his shirt before folding it neatly and put HM? Then where could he be? Rias asked herself while looking around with hands on her hip. Naruto could hide his presence quite well, so she couldn't be able to sense him anywhere. Even after channeling her magic into her bracelet, he didn't respond at all, which was a really surprise. Have you asked Ravel-sama? Graphia advised. She too was wondering wherever about Naruto is. Maybe he is with her. Maybe, I guess. Rias nodded. Lately Naruto had spent a lot of time around his peerage, especially Ravel, for both training purpose and strengthen their relationships. Rias even saw the two walking with each other in the garden, talking as if they were already husband and wife and been in love for years. At first, Rias thought it was normal for Naruto to spend more time with Ravel than the other members of his peerage, even Yubaluna, who had grown a lot closer to Naruto as well. The two shared a very sacred bond with each other, making Ravel the only one able to use a part of his power to aid him in battlefield. It was still a mystery for them of just exactly how powerful was Revel when the bond acts on itself and wrapped Revel in the code of Naruto's energy, but the level of her magical energy alone was enough to rival Rias herself and even some of the higher high-class devils. Naruto was probably teaching Revel how to use his cloak in the most effective way. "Let's go, Oju-sama, I got something to tell Naruto-sama as well," Graphia said as she stood beside the youngest child of the Gremory household, who then nodded and led the way outside the castle to get to Naruto's training ground. Line break. "Naruto-sama? I thought he was with you, Rias-sama, I haven't seen him since morning." "Me neither, Rias-sama." Revel and Yubaluna both shook their head, making Rias frown. If Naruto wasn't with Revel, then maybe he was with the other girls of his peerage, but if Yubaluna said she haven't seen him as well, then trying to search for him would be very hard. "Where is that idiot?" Rias scolded. If she didn't know any better, she would say Naruto was ignoring everyone and minding his own business without letting his friends know about it. "We could ask Ikaros, she could find Naruto even if he tried to hide from us." Rias couldn't help but nodded her head at Ravel's advice. For some reason the Robot Angel sensor could always be able to find Naruto even if he tried to hide his magical signature. The angels and Ajuka had designed Ikaros to always be able to get to Naruto's side and help him whenever she wanted to, or Naruto, captured and no one could find him. A moment later, Rias and Graphia with Revel and Yubaluna walking behind them found Ikaros playing with Milikas inside of his room. The fallen angel was sitting on the ground while slowly running her hand on the watermelon surface, her face as usual void of any emotion. Ikaros, after being able to shake Milikas off the friendly angel and sent him to dining hall for breakfast, Rias turned to the angeloid who was looking at her with the same emotionless eyes. "Can you find Naruto-kun?" There's a moment of silence before the pink-hair angel opened her lips to speak. "Master is in his room," she said shortly. But I was..." Rias stopped and had a feeling of slapping herself for being such an idiot. "Oh yeah, I nearly forgot that." Rias had her own room, which was now shared by both her and her boyfriend, but it didn't mean Naruto never had his own room. There was a room at the second floor which the walls were painted orange and lot of orange stuffs inside that could easily burn anyone's eyes because of the color, so Rias sealed that room off and forced Naruto to sleep with her in her room from that day. Naruto's old room was the last place she would want to think about, so of course she couldn't think of wherever about Naruto was. "Let's go, let's see what he is up to," Rias said and pulled everyone with her, with Ikaros followed behind them out of curiosity. Line break. Along the way, the group got the company of the rest of Rias' peerage along with a worn-out Issei Hayadu, who just got a day off thanks to his hard work by Tannen the dragon. They were all wondering where was their favorite blonde, who was always the first one to raise and shine in the morning. All head to Naruto's old room and Rias was the one who knocked on the floor. "Naruto-kun, are you in there?" There was no reply. "My sensor tell me that he's in the room," Ikaros said, looking at the door. "Naruto-kun, if you don't open the door I will kick it off." She always wanted to destroy this room when she was young, but Naruto didn't allow her to do so. Before Rias could do what she intended to, Ikaros raised her hands and punched the door with such force that it sent the wooden door flying across and landed on the other side of the room, breaking into piece much to everyone's amaze. "Gah!" They all heard his shouted. Looking inside, everyone saw that Naruto was sitting with his legs crossing on the bed. "I'm trying to concentrate here," he shouted loudly. "Naruto-kun, so this is where you are?" Rias smirked victoriously while walking into the orange room, with her peerage following shortly behind. "What are you thinking?" she asked while giving a light punch on his arm. "You got everyone worried for disappearing like that." "Sorry Rias-chan," he chuckled. "What are you doing, Naruto-sama?" Akino asked, trying to snug closer to him, but Rias was way faster than her and held her black-haired queen back with the most innocent smile. "Well, remember what I told you about me? Have figured it out a way to find memories back." Everyone froze and widened their eyes. "Well, I think it is about time I get them back, to find out the truth. All these past months I live with the thought that my only purpose in life was to kill Rias-chan." The crimson-haired heiress looked away a little, without knowing anything about my real family or where the powers I was using to fight for everyone coming from. "I think it time you know." Everyone was silent because they didn't know what to say. Everyone, especially those who had spent their childhood life with him, knew about his past more than everyone else. Now come to think of it. Naruto then crossed his arms across his chest. "How about you all come to see it with me?" They were stunned at his declaration. "My memories." "Naruto-kun, it is your privacy, I don't think we should." Nah, don't worry Rias-chan," he smiled at his girlfriend. "You're all a part of my family, right? Sharing my memories with you guys is the least I can do to repay the debt of taking care of me when I was young." He then scratched the back of his head. "Plus, I don't think I will be able to handle it alone, so maybe I will need some other people to help me with this." "What do you mean?" Graphia asked with a calm tone, but she already saw the reason behind it. You see, I found a way to regain my memories however. He then pointed to his head, because everything was erased from my mind. To be able to regain all those memories again, I have to somehow force my brain to go through everything I have experienced again. Everything I saw, everything I felt, the pain, the hot, the happiness and even the sadness. I have to make my brain to go through it again. It takes a lot of time to have all of it back, so I have to force all of my lost memories into my brain all at once to speed up and more or less the overwhelm information will damage my brain, at least that's what I think. Oh, like the internet, Issei said loudly and Naruto couldn't help but nod his head. That explanation was simple, but gathered what he mean. So in order to reduce the pain you're saying that we should all share the same mind with you, Graphia spoke up, link our conscious and brain together, right? We will see what you see and feel what you feel? No, I think it will be just see what I see. Naruto shook his head. The magic I am able to use is only capable of transferring the information that my brain processed from my eyes only, so you won't have to feel what I feel, don't worry. I plan to lend the help through my clones, but since everyone is here, why not ask your help as well? He smiled at them, knowing full well that these people would provide him the help he wanted, even if Naruto didn't really want to bother them. Kurama was the one who came up with this idea after all, even though Naruto opposed it at first, saying that he could handle the memories alone and didn't want to trouble Rias-chan and everyone with his problem. Rias looked around and saw the determination in everyone's eyes. Even Issei, who had the usual perversely expression, disappeared on his face. She wanted to help Naruto just like everyone around her. It was never enough to repay him of what he had done for them, but helping him would be the least they could do right now. We will help you, Naruto-kun. Rias smiled at him. Just tell us what we should do. Thank you, Rias-chan. He smiled brightly at them. Line break. The next thing Rias Gremory knew, after Naruto casted that spell on her and everyone, was darkness. Slowly opening her eyes, Rias glanced down slightly and saw she was lying on her front, on a water surface, and yet she felt herself completely dry. Standing up slowly, supporting her body with all four, the crimson-haired heiress then suddenly felt a tingle of pain from the deep of her mind, but it disappeared as fast as it appeared. Everything around them was dark and she couldn't see anything other than the wide area of water. Rias? Rias looked up and saw Akino slowly walking toward her, slowly making herself known. Akino, the king smiled before taking her queen's hand, letting the Akino pulled her up to her feet. Where is everyone? I don't know, Rias. Akino shook her head. I saw Yuto-kun a moment ago, but he went somewhere else to find the other. She then looked around. Where are we anyway? I don't know, Akino, but I have the feeling that this is Naruto-kun's mind. Their conscious was linked to each other through Naruto, so it wouldn't be a surprise if this was Naruto's brain. Well, I hope it is not, because it is empty. The both chuckled at that before starting to search for everyone else. It didn't take them long to find the others. About a minute or so they reunited with Graphia, Ravel and Naruto's queen Yubaluna before Kiba and the rest of her peerage made their present to Rias. Ikaro stayed outside to watch over their sleeping body, and since her mind wasn't like them, Naruto couldn't risk using the magic on her in case he accidentally damaged her brain. So is anyone knows where we are? Naruto's mindscape. Rias' question was answered because the next moment that booming voice was heard, everything around them suddenly lighted up. Dear Maou! Issei shouted when he finally saw what's standing behind him, and clearly the one who just spoke up. Behind them was a creature reminded them greatly of Yasaka's full Yukai form, a kitsune with red-orange fur and red eyes. It possessed the upper body structure of a human, complete with opposable thumbs on its clawed hands. The fox was big, bigger than any creature they had ever seen in their life. Issei could clearly see that this Ninetails fox was even bigger than Tannen himself, standing roughly the same height as the entire mountain, and the combination size of its tails were even greater than its own body. Everyone immediately took caution when the fox suddenly bared its fangs to them before roaring out powerfully, knocking a few of them to their back, but the stronger ones were all ready to fight. Issei even screamed out like a girl when the fox's teeth was inches from him, being the one who was nearest to Kurama. Ha ha ha, the fox suddenly laughed with a booming voice. I have always wanted to do that. In the name of Mao, who are you? Graphia asked loudly with a calm and cold voice. Her hands were radiating with ice magic. She didn't know if she could use her magic in here or not, but clearly she was the strongest person here, and if she must, she would protect the other with her life against this creature. The name Kurama. He brought out his hand and flicked Graphia with his index finger, making the white-haired maid fell on her butt, and as you can see, I'm a QB just like that blonde vixen. It was clear that he was referencing to Yasaka. You look just like Naruto's Yukai form. Akino could see the resemblance between Kurama and the form Naruto used to battle alongside with Yasaka at the end of the battle at Kyoto. You're his power. Wrong. I lend him my power, Kurama said. Wait a minute, Rias then looked at Kurama with wide eyes, remembering the voice she heard the night many years ago from Naruto. You're that voice, you were the one who stopped Naruto 8 years ago, weren't you? You're welcome, the fox gave a foxy grin. Thank you, Kurama-san. Rias smiled at him, and this made everyone lower their guard down a bit. It seemed that this nine-tailed fox was friendly. Kurama-san, can I ask where is Naruto-sama? Ravel took a step forward nervously. The brat is going through his memories. I am transferring to him. Kurama crossed his arms across his chest. I'm with Naruto from the day he was born, so I know everything about his past. The guy who captured Naruto clearly knew what to do. He wiped all of Naruto's memories from his head, so the only option for him is me giving him my own memories. What about us? Issei asked nervously. Well, I can tear you apart and see if the Dragon Drag is a worthy opponent or not. The fox smirked, making Issei shouted in terror. Gasper already passed in fear out, and strangely, his usual box was here with him as well. Just kidding, Naruto tell me to show you guys his memories. And? Why should I? Everyone facepalmed. I will still give you some access to his memories, to show you his memories just like you ask, but I won't show you all of it, just some important moments of his life. The rest you will have to ask him. Well, I guess that is fine enough for us. Zenobia put her sword away, ready to cut down this fox if he ever dared to refuse. It seemed that their power could work fine in here. Good, the Nine-Tails fox nodded his head before smiling. Let's go then. Then, in a blur, the surrounding around them changed. Naruto DxD, Purpose of Living. Chapter 21. We love you, son. In a flash of light, their surrounding changed. From nothingness, the whole group saw themselves standing in some kind of large classroom and have high ceilings, based on a theory that larger classrooms lead to expansive education, expanding even to the blackboard itself. In front of the blackboard was a podium, situated far from the students' desks and put in a position where the teacher can view everyone at once. Kids around the age of 7 and 8 was sitting and chatting excitedly to each other. Wow, where are we? Rias looked around, amazed. This is Ninja Academy. Kurama booming voice was heard, but they couldn't see him anywhere. The place where kids train to become ninja, just like Naruto. Just like Naruto-kun? You mean? Guys, look. Kiba spoke up loudly as he stood in front of the windows. Everyone quickly gathered in front of the windows and looked outside, gasping in shock at what they were seeing. It was a mountain that greatly resembled Mount Rushmore of the USA, but with only 3 faces carved on it. Below it was a multi-houses with strange designs with various kind of shops they could think of, streets that filled with civilians who were walking while chatting with each other, the whole making a large village, surrounded by forest and such richness in nature that could even rival Citri family, which was the place that had the most nature reserves among the few territories belonging to high-class devils. This is Konohagakure no Sato, the hidden village of the Land of Fire. Kurama informed them. This is Naruto's home. Amazing, Graphia then realized as she called out loudly, but wait, Kurama-san, Land of Fire? Graphia had lived for more than 200 years, and yet all her life she didn't know anything about a land called Land of Fire, unless... Yes, your Naruto came from a very different dimension. Everyone widened their eyes at Kurama's declaration. His world is called Elemental Nations. Countries operated as separate political entities and are presumably all monarchies, ruled by daimyo, who stands equally in rank with the hidden village's Kage. The Naruto world is similar to feudal Japan of your world in many aspects. Rias nodded her head. That was the reason why she couldn't find anyone named Irika no matter how much documents she searched. It wasn't because he didn't exist, but it was because he was at a very different world than them. Konoha is the strongest shinobi villages out there, Kurama said, but that is for later. Now you should return your attention to the classroom. Just as everyone turned around, the door was opened and a man in his late 30s stepped in. He was wearing a pair of dark blue shirts which had the red swirl patterns on the shoulders, along with matching colored pants over a green flak jacket which also had a red swirl on the back, and pockets on the chest area. Okay, class, silent, he called out loudly to the classroom, and instantly the students shut their voice. Good, please come in, Kushina-san. Stepping into the classroom was a young little girl who had a cute, round face and her red hair naturally framing both sides of her face while the rest fell freely on her back. Her attire was a sleeveless kimono-style blouse that was yellow in color and held closed with a green obi over a short-sleeved mesh shirt with a pair of dark blue shorts and brown shinobi sandals. Everyone couldn't help but admit that she was really cute, but for those who spent childhood with Naruto, they couldn't help but think that her face was somewhat familiar. Alright, we have a new student today, the teacher said as he put a hand on the red-haired girl's back, who will be attending the academy. The girl opened her eyes and looked around nervously before gathering her courage and shouted out loudly. I'm Kushina Uzumaki, Databane. She then realized what she just said and covered her mouth in embarrassment. Oh. There were a long moment of silence coming from Rias and everyone, as they stood speechless at the girl whose name was Kushina Uzumaki. No way, Akino was the first one who broke the silence as she stared at Kushina with wide eyes while the classroom laughed at her catchphrase, "Don't tell me that this is." Yes, this was Kushina Uzumaki, Kurama said, smirking slightly, Naruto's mother. Look at the color of her hair, the kid laughed while pointing at Kushina, who lowered her face while using her finger to caress a strand of her band. How do you get it that red? They all laughed. Those brats, what's up with red hair? Rias cried while gritting her fist. While the color of Kushina's hair was nowhere near as deep as Rias' crimson hair, but the fact that she shared something in common with Naruto's mother made her feel happy. Kushina-san's hair is beautiful. Indeed she is, Akino nodded her head with a smile. I? Kushina then looked up and shouted out loudly, I'm going to become the village's first female Hokage. Her words made the entire class stunned, all save for one boy. Again, everyone gasped when they saw the boy stood up, wearing a simple white suit of clothing with green trimmings and a hood. He had bright, blue eyes and spiky, blonde hair. He also had jaw-length bangs framing either side of his face. Is that Naruto's father when he was young? Graphia asked. She could clearly see Naruto's brilliant blue eyes and spiky golden blonde hair were inherited from his father. Minato Namake's, Kurama voice was heard, and yes, he is Naruto's father. This is the day his parent met. The girls all cooed at that, getting excited at the idea of a romantic story between these two. I want to be a great Hokage, who will be admired by everyone in the village too, Minato said with a warm smile, but Kushina only glared at him. What is Hokage, Kurama-san? Irina asked loudly, looking up at the ceiling as if she was talking to Kurama. The Hokage are the leaders of Konohagakure. They are generally acknowledged as the strongest in the village, although ideology and renown plays a large part in their nomination for the position. The fox paused for a second before saying, those three faces carved onto the mountain outside are the previous and current Hokage of the village. One of the founders and also the Sodame Hokage of Konoha, Hashirama Senju. The Nidame Hokage and also the younger brother of the first, Tobarama Senju. And currently at this point of the memories, the Sandame Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. So both Kushina-sama and Minato-sama dreamed of becoming the leader of their village. Ravel nodded her head. Did any of them become the Hokage, Kurama-san? You will have to wait and see. The scene then changed to the break time between class. Kushina, who was scolding and standing with her back leaning at the end of the class with boys around her. Minato was sitting at his seat while talking to another boy of his class. Tomato, one of the boys shouted while pointing his hand at Naruto's mother, from today, we're going to call you Tomato. The boys laughed, you have a fat, round face with red hair. While I don't like the boys bullying Kushina-sama, Yuba Luna commented for the first time, I have to admit that the way her red hair framed her round face truly looked like tomatoes. Everyone nodded, agreeing with Naruto's queen's thought. I hate tomatoes. Me too. I never eat it in my salad. Hey, wasn't that indirectly saying that they hate Kushina-san? Ria scolded. She wanted to knock the boy for his silliness, but this was a memories, there were nothing she could do. Typical boy, Graphia sighed. A tomato that everyone hates, the boy said loudly, could never be accepted as the Hokage. Never mind that. Kushina then turned her eyes slightly to the left side of the class and saw Minato was looking at her. Her eyes widened a little but the scowl was still there, so the blonde boy quickly looked away. It's the tomato festival. A boy with large black hair and chubby face grabbed Kushina's hair, making the red-haired girl gritted her teeth in anger. It's time to harvest. All laughed, only increased Kushina's anger as well as the group who was viewing the memories. The red-haired young girl's hand then suddenly shot up and grabbed the boy who was holding her hair's wrist with deep anger in her eyes. Who are you calling tomato? Kushina then tightened the grip to the point the boy cried out with his fingers twitching in pain, letting go off her hair. Now you listen. I hate tomato too, Databane. Everyone then paled and sweat dropped when Kushina used both hands to grab the boy, swinging him around and sent the boys flying away. She then jumped on one boy who was on the ground and sat herself on his back, keeping the boy in place and punched him rapidly on the back of his head much to the shock of everyone. Keep calling me tomato. She then brought both of her fists together and brought it down his head, and you're going to get it, Databane. Akino gasped slightly with a hand to cover her giggle. It seems that Kushina-sama is a little tomboyish and short-tempered, don't you think? For a young girl she is quite strong. Rias couldn't help but sigh in relief. It seems that Kushina Uzumaki wasn't that easy to bully. They then saw Minato once again turned his head to look at Kushina, who was still giving one hell of a beating to the boys. His face then spread out in a smile but it quickly shut down by Kushina, who turned her face to him with her fist brought out. What are you laughing at? The boy then flinched and turned away while sweating nervously. Kushina then continued to fight the boys despite their numbers. She still had the upper hand with the deceptive strength and fierce bare-hand fighting skills, pummeling several kids half to death for teasing her. The fight became more violent as the boy ran away, but Kushina still grabbed all of them and pulled them back to deliver a hard punch to the face, effectively knocking them out. Everyone, save for Grafia, backed off at the other side of the classroom when Kushina's expression darkened and her eyes glowed yellow dramatically with her hair flying wildly behind her. "She is a monster," was all Issei said, but clearly able to gather all the ideas about this young woman. From that day, the bloody habanero was born. Kushina used to hate her hair and its color very much, Kurama said as they watched the girl fought with a genin, going as far as pulling her hair off when the ninja held her back with her long red hair, but it was changed thanks to this. Scene changed again and they saw a much older Kushina, wearing the same attire but with a head protector with the symbol of Konoha on the metal plate, walking into her house, which was a large mansion resembled the old and traditional Japanese house. While looking around, "I'm home," she said loudly. "Anybody here?" She pushed a door open and looked inside for a moment. "No one here." She then about to walk away when suddenly, Kushina widened her eyes and returned back to the room. "No, run!" Rias shouted when she saw 3 shinobi with a different symbol than Konoha's emerged from the shadows, smirking. "Someone, help!" Kushina immediately ran away while screaming out in fear, but she suddenly tripped over and fell down to the ground. The 3 shinobi immediately jumped in and captured her, tying Kushina's hands behind her back and brought her away before any other member of her family could return. Those ninjas were from Kumogakure. They were there to kidnap her. Everyone quickly ran after the 3 shinobi who now already outside of the village. The sky above them was getting dark, but with their powerful eyesight they could see everything clearly. "But why?" Kiba asked with Asia on his shoulder. Since then none couldn't move as fast as them. He was the one who were helping her. "You see, her chakra was a little bit special," Kurama said, "and before Naruto, she was the Jin, she was the one who I was sealed into. Kumo knew about this, so they came to kidnap Kushina in order to make use of my power." Everyone nodded their head and kept on following the group. The moon was high on the sky and yet no one appeared to save Kushina. The group then slowed down, thinking that they were safe now since they already far away from the village. Grafia, while walking, couldn't help but feel worried for the young lady. However, after a moment she noticed something on the ground and stopped, lowering her body down and saw a few strands of Kushina's red hair on the ground. Looking up, she focused her eyes on the path they just crossed and saw a few other strands of red hair as well. "Smart girl," a smile made it to the beautiful maid's face as she understood what Kushina wanted to do with her hair. "What is it, Grafia?" Rias asked, crouching down at Grafia's level. "You saw this?" Grafia pointed to the hairs on the ground. "They are Kushina-san's hairs. I saw some over there too." She was marking her trail. Rias nodded her head in realization, but a frown then made it to her face. She was worried for Kushina's well-being just like anyone else, but do you think that anyone could notice this? "I don't know, Rias-sama." Grafia then stood up and walked ahead with Rias right beside her. "I only hoped that someone would." Not even a minute later, when the group about to reach the border between nations, when all hope seemed to disappear from Kushina's eyes as her steps became lifeless, a shadow suddenly shot down from a tree without a sound and took out the Kumo's shinobi easily before jumping away before the others could notice him. Everyone cheered out when their eyes caught a glimpse of Minato's blonde hair as he once again jumped down again and delivered a strong spinning kick to the ninja at the left. "Wow, Naruto and I's dad is so cool." With the last ninja, even when he already put on his guard with a kunai in hands, Minato still be able to take him down, sending the man flying into a tree and knocking him out. He then touched his foot down to the ground and stood in front of Kushina, who was still walking and didn't know that the kidnappers had already been taken care of. The cloud above them flowed away from the moon, letting its light shone down and made Minato appear in front of Kushina's eyes. "Hey, are you all right?" he asked with a kind tone. "I came to rescue you." The girl looked up and a smile then made it to her face. Hope returned to her violet orbs. Kushina then fell down to her knees and was about to fall all her front down to the ground if not for Minato quickly ran over to her and catch Kushina before falling. "Everything is going to be fine." He then put his hand underneath Kushina's knees much to her surprise. "Hey wait," but he already got her in his hands, bridal style, and pushed Chakra to his feet and jumped away. The devils and angel brought out their wings to follow the couple with a smile on their face. Kushina then looked down Minato's hands and saw a few strands of her hair there. She then widened her eyes and asked with a quiet tone. "That's... your hair is beautiful, so I noticed it right away," Minato said with a smile. The red-head Kunoichi then looked away. "But how come you always been ignoring me?" "Because I believe that you can take care of yourself." That made Kushina and everyone surprised. "That I know you're strong, both in body and in spirit. He then landed down on top of a tree and looked at her, but still this is a war fight, the fight between villages. It different than all your battle, so I came. But why? Naruto's mother asked softly. It's simple, because I didn't want to lose you. It was so beautiful that even Issei Hayadu was trying to hold back his tear. They had never seen such a romantic moment like this before. Sure, there were moments of Surzex Lucifer and Graphia in the last war, but it was nothing compared to this. But I'm an outsider. No, you're not. Minato said softly, you're living in Konoha, that mean no matter where you came from you're one of us. He then smiled at her and Kushina's eyes softened. She kept on looking at the boy who had saved her life. The memories soon fade away, leaving everyone in the darkness once again. It is so beautiful. Akino couldn't help but say that. She always loved romantic stories, but seeing a special one like this with her own eyes truly warmed her heart up. Yes, it is. Ria smiled softly and everyone nodded their head. Even Gasper was having a smile on his face that they rarely seen on the super shy Hikikomori. Naruto-sama sure have great parent. The surrounding changed once again after Yubaluna said that. This time they were at a hallway, with a teenager Kushina Uzumaki walking with an unreadable expression on her face. Wow, she is freaking beautiful. Issei dropped his mouth to the ground in shock, but no sooner did he say that, Kaneko delivered a hard punch to his grip, making the pervert boy cried out in pain and dropped to his knees. Even if the group didn't quite agree with Issei's pervert mind, they couldn't help but admit that Naruto's mother was indeed very beautiful. Her red hair had grown longer, still perfectly framing her face with two bangs slightly longer now. Kushina wore a short-sleeved, tan kimono-like blouse with a dark embroidered border, held closed with a black obi, a dark skirt and stockings that stopped at her thighs along with brown sandals. Kushina then stood in front of a room and pushed the door open. Inside was an elderly woman sitting on a bed with her hair hanged into her back with the maroon hair color, with two buns in her hair, and wore a simple loose-fitting kimono held closed by a simple dark-colored obi. Mito-sama, Kushina greeted her and walked inside, standing in front of the elderly woman named Mito. She was Mito Uzumaki, the Sodame Hokage's wife and my first vessel. The woman just smiled warmly at Kushina and took the younger girl's hand into her. Kneeling on the ground with her head resting against Mito's abdomen, letting Mito slowly patting her head and ran her fingers through her long beautiful red head. Like you, I was brought to this village to become the vessel for the Kyuubi, Mito said kindly. I can imagine your shock when you learned of this. How sad you must have been. Kushina's expression turned into sadness as she stayed silent. How you have suffered. You can tell me the truth. Hi, the girl whispered softly and turned her head up to look at the elderly Uzumaki. Suffered? What did she mean suffer? Rias asked with confusion in her tone. There are 8 beasts other than myself, with our tails increased from 1 to 9, Kurama spoke up once again. We are called Bijou, and the term used for the vessels of the tail beasts were Jinchuriki, literally meaning, power of human sacrifice. Human sacrifice? Asia asked, horrified. Although humanity would for centuries exploit the tailed beasts as sources of power, it would not be until after the establishment of the hidden villages that the practice of creating Jinchuriki resumed. The new hidden villages, each with their own tailed beasts, started sealing the beasts into selected villagers in Konohagakure. This was done to protect the village from its beast. Kurama scolded a little, though the Jinchuriki were meant to be nothing more than military potential, with little regard for the Jinchuriki or even the tailed beast. Because of the difficulties involved when learning to control a tailed beast and the history the tailed beast itself may have with a village, Jinchuriki are often hated and ostracized by their fellow villagers, treated as no different than the beast they contain. And let me tell you, with the powerful beasts like us roaming around, human don't like us one bit. But this is terrible. Irina shook her head. How could they do that? Kushina-san was forced to become one when she was so young. Rias then realized it. Naruto have you in his body, then that mean? I will say that he didn't have a very happy childhood in this village, was all Kurama's words before he became silence. Now listen carefully, said Mito. Indeed, we are the vessels of the 9 tails. However, there is a way to find happiness, even if you must live at a Jinchuriki, by filling ourselves with love first. You would be able to live a happy life. Kushina-san found love in Minato-san. Rias nodded her head with a smile, glad that at least Kushina didn't have to live such a terrible life Kurama had said. Scene changed once again. This time they were on the rooftop of a building, with Shinobi standing in line behind a man wearing a white and red hat with the kanji symbol of fire at the front. Look! Zenobia pointed her hand to the front, making everyone turn their head to that direction and widen their eyes in surprise. The spiky golden blonde hair of Minato Namikaze couldn't be mistaken as he was standing in front of them, wearing a short-sleeved long white haori over his normal attire. The Haori was decorated by red flame-like motifs on the edges, with the kanji for fourth Hokage written vertically down the back. No way, everyone was shocked. Minato had done it. He became the Yondaime Hokage of Konoha? Line break. Arg. It hurts, Databane. Everyone backed off as Kushina's ear-tearing scream. They were in some kind of a room that was lightened up by candle. Kushina was lying on a table with Minato standing beside her with both hands on her heavily pregnant stomach, which was having various kinds of kanji words formed into a very complex seal. Another elderly woman was at the end of Kushina's bed with a white-wearing nurse standing beside her. Is this? Yes, this was the day Kushina gave birth to Naruto, October 10th, Kurama nodded his head. The day it all began, they didn't like the sound of that one bit. Hey, is she alright? Minato asked worriedly while looking at his wife. I have never seen Kushina in so much pain. She is alright, the brown-haired woman said, focusing in her task at hand. Never mind that, just stay focused on the QB seal, she said with a firm tone. During childbirth, the seal of a female Jinchuriki is the weakest, which made it easy for me to break out of the seal during that time, so Minato was there to make sure I won't do it, Kurama said. You can say that I didn't like the human very much back then. The childbirth continued and the girls soon all a little worried looking at Kushina, who was still screaming out in pain. They hoped that it was because of Kurama trying to break out of the seal and the pain during childbirth wasn't that much. Sure, it would be the greatest moment of a woman's life to see their children, but the pain during childbirth was something they always afraid of. But, she's... Minato looked at his wife with super worry eyes. You're the Yondaime Hokage, right? Act like one, the elderly woman said loudly before returning her eyes to Kushina. A man would have dropped dead from such pain long ago. But women are strong. I agree, Graphia said blankly with her arms crossed underneath her chest. Era, it's the reason why women have to be the one who give birth to their child from the beginning, you know? Akino giggled. Kiba and Issei didn't know what to say, so they stayed silent. The seal on Kushina's stomach darkened, making Minato gritted his teeth. Hang in there, Naruto, he said, his expression became more determined. I can see his head, the nurse said. You're almost there, Kushina. The girls smiled at that. They couldn't wait to see an infant Naruto. However, it looked like Minato was struggling with the seal as he closed his eyes. His body was shaking. Naruto, come out quickly. He was trying not to yell. Kyuubi, you stay put. Ufufu, I would never stay put, Minato. They heard the Kyuubi's evilly chuckle. How can you still joke in a time like this? Rias called out loudly. With one more strong push and a scream of pain, the loud cry of a baby could be heard. Naruto-kun, Rias cried out in happiness as she could see a small baby in the nurse's hands as she gently brought him close to her. He was crying while gritting both of his hands. Hot water, quickly, the nurse cried to her assistants, who quickly gave her what she needed. Kushina's pain seemed to ease immediately as she panted heavily. Sweats covered her face and her entire body. Minato was looking at Naruto with wide eyes. His body froze. And at the same time, tears fell down their cheeks when they heard the cry of their son. The girls were crying in happiness at the birth of Naruto Uzumaki. Even Graphia had dropped her usual blank face and replaced with a very beautiful and happy smile. The boys like Issei were trying to keep their tears at bay, not wanted to showing their weak side at all. He's born, Minato whispered softly, looking at Naruto who was now wrapped warmly in a blanket. I'm a father today. He smiled widely while using his arms to wipe away the tears of happiness. He's a healthy babe, the nurse informed, and Minato was about to come closer when suddenly the nurse pulled away. Don't touch him. The mother sees him first, she said with a stern tone, making Minato's smile dropped and stepped back and let the nurse walk past him. The brown-haired woman gently moved Naruto down to Kushina's eyes level, making the mother smiled. Naruto, I finally get to see you. You will have a lot of times later. The nurse moved away and Minato walked closer to his wife, putting his hand onto hers with a smile. Kushina, thank you, he said softly before his expression immediately lightened up. Punching his palm with his other hand he yelled, Yash, now that you've gone through childbirth, but I'm going to completely seal the 9 tails. After saying that he put his hand on the seal again. But the next second, a horrified and painful scream tore through the scene full of happiness, tearing everyone's eyes away from the young couple. Biwako-sama, Taji Minto cried out in shock as the 2 nurses dropped to the ground. No! The group showed when they saw a masked man with a black cloak covered his body and a hood covered his head. And he was holding little Naruto in his hand. Yondaime Hokage Minato, get away from the Jinchuriki, he said with a calm tone. His left hand was right above Naruto's face as if he was ready to kill the little babe, otherwise, this child life would end in 1 minute, he threatened. Ah! Kushina screamed out in pain when the black seal crawled away to her face. The black seal on her stomach swelled up bigger. Get away from the Jinchuriki, the masked man said. Instantly a kunai was in his hand and he pointed it at Naruto. Don't you care what happens to your kid? Wait, calm down. Minato held a hand up and shouted with a panicked tone. Speak for yourself, Minato. He then lowered Naruto down and said, I'm as cool as I can be. He then threw the child up, much to the shock of everyone. Naruto! They all shouted out in fear, just like Kushina, as the small babe was helplessly on the air. The masked man jumped up, but Minato was way faster than him, disappeared in a flash before taking Naruto away before the kunai could stab him, and appeared with his feet glued to the wall. Well, I have to hand him to the yellow flash, the masked man said calmly, unsurprised, but I wonder what about the next one. He put his hand in a sign and for just a millisecond they saw a flash of light underneath Naruto's blanket. But the yondaime already disappeared, much to their shock, the same way Naruto always did with his Hiraishin power. The memories changed again, and this time, they saw Kushina standing on top of a large rock at a lake with both of her hands being tied with black seal. I'm going to pull the Kyuubi away from you, the masked man said, standing on the dry ground while looking at Kushina. What? Kushina asked in shock. The masked man made a hand seal again, and this time, Kushina's entire body was covered in dark orange and red energy, her eyes widened and became hollow, her mouth opened wide as the seal on her stomach finally broken. Now then, come out, Kyuubi! Dark purple and dark energy flowed out endlessly from Kushina's seal and formed into a huge fox head, roaring out in anger before shot to the sky and turned into pure energy. Kyuubi no Yoko finally freed from the seal holding it all those years ago. 9 gigantic tails swung wildly behind it like wild flame. Kushina-san! Rias cried out when the energy disappeared from Naruto's mother, making her collapse to her front. Now then, I will go straight to the village. The group was shocked at his declaration. Kurama's power was unimaginable. Naruto had showed them that, and if the masked man decided to bring the beast to the village, Kurama would destroy the whole place. Wait, Kushina gritted her teeth and trying to push herself up. Uzumaki Shinobi is amazing, the masked man said without turning back. You don't die right away after the bijou was extracted. Extracting a bijou from its vessel mean the death for the holder, Kurama informed them. Kushina's life force was very powerful. Even after having me extract from her, she is still alive. You're the Jinchuriki of Nine-Tail, the man said darkly as Kyuubi turned around and bared its fangs at Naruto's mother. I'll use it to kill you. No! Don't do it, everyone shouted when Kurama brought his hand down to crush Kushina. However, in a flash Minato appeared and grabbed her in his hands before disappeared again just in time. Kyuubi's massive hand slammed down and destroyed the entire place. Minato reappeared on top of a tree with Kushina in his hand. I must say you're as fast as your name, Yondaime, the masked man said, looking at the couple, but you're too late now. Minato then teleported away, leaving the masked man alone with Kyuubi, who then headed to the village. In all their life they had never seen anything like this. The man unleashed the full anger of Kurama, who had been sealed for years on the villages at the middle of the night. No shinobi was able to react to it in time as the beast destroyed everything it saw in its path. With his massive claws, Kurama swiped away the house, killing dozens of the innocent civilians. With its mighty roar the strongest bijou blew away the street and houses in front of him, sending the people of Konoha flying while screaming out in pain. Sorry. I was controlled back then, Kurama said, fueled with my anger. You can see that I caused a lot of destruction and death that day. Everyone was silent while they watched Kurama unleashed everything on the villagers. Konoha shinobi then attacked the beast, but they couldn't do anything other than made them known by the gigantic fox. Kurama glared at them and his attack became more violent, killing any shinobi who attacked him or even dare to get close with just a swipe of his tails. Painful cries and screams could be heard everywhere. It was totally a massacre. No one was spared from the beast's fury. Then suddenly, in the middle of the ocean of flame and destruction, Kurama turned its head to the Hokage monument. Everyone turned their eyes to that direction and saw small hope return to them when they saw the yondaime, fully geared up and standing on top of his face, looking at the Kyuubi with a determination expression on his face. Kurama then opened his mouth as black and white orbs began to gather into a massive dark orb. Everyone paled as they all remembered the Bijudama back at Kyoto and what it was capable of. I can't believe it, Rias shouted when Kurama shot the orb straight toward the Hokage monument with the intent to kill Minato and destroyed everything. However, after going through various hand seal, Minato summoned a gigantic seal in front of him and muttered something. The Bijudama slammed into the seal, but it didn't explode. Instead, it was sucked into it. Amazing, everyone gasped, amazed by such power from the yondaime. The powerful orb was teleported away far from the village and exploded safely outside of their area. Everyone sighed in relief. However, the masked man then suddenly appeared behind Minato and used some kind of technique that sucked the Hokage into the black socket on his mask. Scene changed. What the hell, Kurama? Issei shouted. He wanted to see what was going to happen between Naruto's father and the masked man. Sorry, I can only show you what I saw that day. Minato and that man fought at the different location, so I can't show it to you, said Kurama, but let's just say that Minato defeated him. As expected, Graphia nodded her head. Now, the next memories will be very painful, so make sure to hold yourself alright. After saying that, the orange Kyuubi let the memories continue. They got to a wide area where Kushina and Minato, who was holding Naruto in his arm, were standing with the Kyuubi behind them. The mother of Naruto looked very pale and appeared to be seriously weakened due to childbirth and the release of Kyuubi. Blood was flowing down the corner of her mouth and her eyes half lifted. Golden chains suddenly shot out from Kushina's back and wrapped around the Kyuubi, holding the beast in place. The red-hair woman coughed violently. Kushina, Minato shouted, and Naruto began to cry again. Did I wake you up? Kushina asked her son softly. I'm sorry, Naruto. Minato, seal the Kyuubi into me, she whispered with a smile. I'm going to draw the Kyuubi with me to death. So we can delay the revival of the Kyuubi. And I will be able to save all of you, she whispered that last part. Minato froze for a moment before saying. It's because of you that I became the Yondaime Hokage. You made me a man, the Hokage said with a smile, and you made me this baby's father, and yet? His smile dropped. Minato, don't give me that look. Kushina smiled. I'm that happy that you loved me. And today, is this child's birthday? Young Naruto's lips curled up into a tiny smile, as if he could understand what his mother was saying. If I were to imagine me alive and our future together, the three of us a family. I can't see us having anything but a happy life. Tears fell down from everyone's eyes as they listened to Naruto's mother's loving words. If I allowed just one regret, it's that I won't be able to see Naruto grow up. How I wish I could have seen that. Kushina, there is no need for you to die with the Kyuubi. Minato spoke up, using his hand to wipe away the tears. Preserve what little chakra you have left for a reunion with Naruto. Kushina was stunned at his words. I'll seal all of your remaining chakra inside Naruto. It will be a part of the Hack Fujin, he said. Then I will take the Kyuubi with me with the only sealing jutsu I can do since I'm not a Jinchuriki. The Shiki Fujin. Kushina was shocked and she quickly snapped at her husband. But the caster that used that jutsu? And one more thing, the Yondaime Hokage continued, I will only seal half of the Kyuubi. Sealing a power this immense is physically impossible. It also strategically unwise. If you take the Kyuubi and it seal with you when you die, there won't be a Jinchuriki around when he re-emerges. That will upset the balance of power between the tailed beasts. Shiki Fujin will seal half of the Kyuubi with me forever. As for the other half of Kyuubi, he couldn't be serious, Graphia muttered. I will seal it inside Naruto with the Hack Fujin. Minato finished with a small smile, making Kushina gasp. I know what you want to say, but remember what Jiraiya-sen said about world upheaval and the calamites that would follow. Two things were confirmed for me today. That masked man who attacked you today is a harbinger of disaster, and the one who will stop him is this child. He looked down at Naruto, this infant whose godfather is Jiraiya-sensei. He will open up the future as a Jinchuriki. I don't know why, but I'm convinced of this. The blonde then put his son down to the ground and stood up. But Minato, wait. But the Yondaime had already gone through various hand seals before clapping his hands together and crying out, Hack Fujin. Everyone gasped as a shadowy figure emerged behind him. Humanoid figure that was larger than an average human, possessing long, shaggy white hair, from which two red horns protrude, and dark grayish-blue colored skin. It is draped in a large white garment and carries a set of prayer beads. His mouth, which was full of sharp jagged teeth, and a very long, almost serpentine tongue, was holding a tanto in it. Let's put our trust in this child, he said with a determination tone. He's our son, after all. When I finished with the Shiki Fujin, I will seal your chakra inside Naruto. When he tries to control the Kyuubi's power as a Jinchuriki, I want you to help him out. Our son, Kushina gritted her teeth. He's our son, which is why I don't want to put such a terrible burden on him. She then looked up at her husband's face, and also, why use the Shiki Fujin? If it's just so I can meet a grown-up Naruto, even if it's just for a short while, there is no need for you to die. I want you to stay by Naruto as he grows up and protect him. I don't get it, the red-head Uzumaki said painfully as more tears fell from her eyes. To keep the balance of the bijou? For the sake of the nation and the village? Why must Naruto be sacrificed? She screamed. Why must you sacrifice for me? To forsake one's nation and one's village is the same as forsaking one's child, Minato muttered with a calm tone. Your own homeland was destroyed, so you of all people should know the harsh life that awaits those without a country. Beside, our family is, shinobi. After saying that, his expression softened, and finally, even if I were to live, I'm no match to you. Even though you won't have much time with him, there are some things only you as his mother can tell Naruto, things that I can't. That's the mother's rule. I'm not doing this just for you, I'm doing this for Naruto. He then picked the small babe up. I will gladly die for my son. It's my duty as his father. Damn you, Yondaime. It wasn't the voice of Kurama but the voice of the angry Kyuubi of the memories, which was filled with absolute hatred and anger. The hand of Shinigami shot out and shot into Kyuubi's body, grabbing his very soul. Fujin, a massive blue energy in the shape of Kurama, was pulled out from his body and flew into Minato's stomach as the body of the Yondaime absorbed the massive chakra of the Bijou into him, leaving behind a black and complex seal on his abdomen. The Yondaime gritted his teeth. The overwhelmed energy seemed to be too much for him to handle. Damn you! Some of the golden chains then fell from the memory Kurama's body as it gritted his teeth. His body shrunk down a little. Putting his hand on the ground, Minato summoned a small ritual altar with candles surrounded around it. Yash, next will be the hack Fujin. The Yondaime stepped forward and gently laid Naruto down. I will seal the Kyuubi inside of Naruto now. Cough. The sound of painful coughing from Kushina followed by the sounds of chains being loosened up around the Kyuubi made everyone heart froze as Kurama took his chance and rushed forward with its massive paws raised. Right now. The gigantic fox cried out victoriously and brought its gigantic and sharp nails down. Naruto Kun! Rias cried out, trying to get to Naruto. Tears filled her vision as she completely forgot that this was just a memory and there were nothing she could do. The Crimson Heiress then got to Naruto's side and kneed down, using her body to seal the boy just as everyone inside Naruto's mind got beside and also did the same. But the stabbing sound made everyone froze in shock. Kurama's sharp claw was stopped just an inch from his body and somehow, human's blood ran from the curve of the claw and dripped down his chest. They slowly turned around and cried out in horror at what they were seeing. Naruto's parent was standing, with Minato behind Kushina as the both of them used their body to stop the nail from getting to their son. Both Minato and Kushina were being impaled by a massive claw and yet they were still trying to stop it, as Kyuubi was trying to stab his nail into Naruto in the intention of killing him. I said this is the father duty, Minato whispered painfully behind Kushina. Then all the more, since I'm his mother, Kushina chuckled and glanced behind her to look at Minato. If the father can do this job, the mother should be even better. Kushina gritted her teeth as she desperately held onto the ground on which she stood, with her hands tightly wrapped around the Ninetales' enormous, elongated nail sticking through her stomach. Asia collapsed to her knees as she was crying out loud with both hands holding her face, trying to seal her eyes from what happened around her. This was too much for her to handle, seeing such a painful scene like this. Issei wrapped his arms around the former nun and tried to calm her down, but even himself was having trouble keeping his tears at bay, as they fell freely down his cheeks as he stared at the parent of his big brother figure. Naruto's mother and father coughed out blood as their heels kicked into the dirt, using every last bit of strength they could fathom to prevent the Kyuubi from spearing their baby, who was lying asleep on the ceremonial throne that would be used to perform the hack Fujin. Damn you, the Kyuubi bellowed, attempting to withdraw its paw. However, it was unable to thanks to the chakra chains binding it tightening around his limbs, preventing the demon from moving. You mongrel humans? I will kill you. You win. The woman exclaimed, her voice hoarse from the effort of both holding back the pain and the nail gouging them. First. Pant, argument you've ever won, Minato. Pant, guess you're really serious. Minato grinned. Thank you, Kushina. Relinquishing a hand from the talon, the Yondaime Hokage held it out to the side, out of reach of the demon's paw. Kuchios no Jutsu, a puff of white smoke formed a cloud beside the withering pair of shinobi, and once the fumes cleared it revealed an impatient-looking toad with a rolled-up scroll encompassing its midsection. The lofty amphibian was at first cross at being summoned, but then when it looked up its look of discontent turned into shock at the sight of a very familiar beast. Gah! The Ninetales? And Yondaime? What the hell happened to you? Gamatora. I'm entrusting you with the key to the seal. Hurry to Jiraiya-sensei and store it with him, Minato stated, using whatever ounces of breath and energy he had left in his body to speak. He unfurled the scroll around the toad's stomach and with his blood, painted in the necessary seals required for the transition from host to occur. Now that the ownership of the key had been changed, Minato knew immediately what needed to be done. He finished his scribbling with an affirmative nod, and with a relieved sigh his blood-soaked fingers fell away. The toad the fourth was addressing nodded in understanding and clapped its hands together. Got it, goodbye, Minato. Gamatora disappeared the same way he arrived, a white cloud of smoke engulfing him and fading away seconds later. That does it, Minato murmured, smiling in relief. Minato stated with a hand on his wife's shoulder, his voice becoming even hoarser. I'm going to perform the 8 trigram seal, and leave a bit of my chakra behind with Naruto, too. Kushina nodded and closed her eyes, tears welling up at the prospect of leaving her son alone. There isn't much time left. If you have anything to say to Naruto, say it now. Kushina sighed and opened her eyes, revealing them to be heavily clouded with tears. When she looked down upon her sleeping son, safely out of harm's reach of the Kyuubi and the death it was wishing upon him, she smiled. Naruto, don't be a fussy eater, eat a lot and grow up to be a big boy. Take your bath every day, go to bed early and sleep well. Make friends, it doesn't matter how many, just make sure they're real friends, people you can trust, even if it is a few. And if you want to be a ninja someday, then, study your ninjutsu well. Kushina grinned. I never really was good at it, but maybe you will be. Everyone has things they're good at and things they're not, so don't feel bad if you can't do it all. Make sure you listen to your teachers at the academy. At this point, both Minato and Kushina were smiling happily. And remember, avoid the 3 vices of shinobi. Don't borrow money if you can't help it, so save what you earn from missions, no drinking alcohol until you're 20, and don't overdo it or you'll ruin your body. And as for women, Kushina chuckled. Well, I'm a woman so I don't really know what to say, but there are only men and women in this world, and you'll want to have a girlfriend someday. Just, try not to pick a weird one, try to find someone like your mother. The redhead then sighed and shook her head, an ever-present, unflinching grin on her face. And the 4th warning, watch out for Jiraiya-sensei. Minato couldn't help but share a light laugh at that, knowing full well what his master was like. They both did. Naruto, you're going to experience a lot of pain and suffering, Kushina said, trying to hold back all the tears she could, but was unable to. Remember who you are, find a goal, find a dream, and don't ever stop trying till it comes true. There's, sniff. There's so much more I want to say, so much more I want to teach you, I want to stay with you. I love you. Minato blinked, also on the verge of tears himself. But he had to remain firm and rigid. It was what a father should be. Cough. I'm sorry, Minato. I took up all our time, Kushina cried. It's okay, Minato murmured, and looked down at his son. Naruto, this is your dad. A grin spread across his face. Listen, to your motormouth mother. The little Naruto seemed to smile and murmur, rolling a bit in his cradle as if he had heard and understood everything his parents had said to him. This was all the sign Minato and Kushina needed to know that their son had been listening. Their words and their sacrifice would not be in vain. Hakfujin. And the painful memory disappeared. Arc 3, Battles of the Youth. Naruto DxD, Purpose of Living. Chapter 22. Fire. Here, drink this Revel, it will make you feel better, Raven Phoenix said gently as she handed her daughter a large ceramic cup containing steaming green liquid. The girl took it with her shaking hands. Thank you Kaa-sama, she said gratefully to her mother, but her hand slipped. Revel would have dropped the cup if not for Naruto quickly put his hand underneath her smaller ones, supporting her. Careful, he smiled at her, making Revel blush at the feeling of his hand around hers. Here, lets me help you, he smiled and helped her drink until there was nothing left in the cup. Revel, while looking all right, still needed 3 more hours to wake up from her coma state. They had moved Revel to the 2nd floor and let her rest on Rias' bed, in the Crimson Heiress personal room. The bed was enchanted with a fireproof spell in order to not catch fire because of her feathers, which would burst into fire the moment they leave her new wings and touch the something else. Currently there were only Naruto, Graphia, and the Phoenix family in the room. Lord Phoenix was sitting on the edge of the bed next to her daughter and smiling at her softly, just like Raven. Ugh, what is this Kaa-sama? Revel winced. That was one of the most disgusting things she had ever drank in her life, considered that she was a rich young lady who was born with a silver spoon in her mouth. It's disgusting, but nonetheless she felt a little better. Her body stopped shaking and she became relaxed. You have to bear it, Revel, Raven shook her head. Naruto took the cup from her and gave it to Graphia. That is a special herb belonged to our family, which will help the body of the female member of our household become relaxed in case she has to experience a sudden maturing. She put her hand on Ravel's head and ran her hand on her golden hair, which was still shining like crystal under the light. You've become such a beautiful girl, my daughter. But why Lady Phoenix? Naruto asked. He knew very little about Phoenix's sacred bond other than what he read in that tradition book. Whatever forced her become like this, Naruto got a feeling their bond have something to do with it. I thought maturing only increase her strength, not her appearance like this. First Naruto-kun, Lady Phoenix cleared her throat and asked him, before the maturing, Ravel's transformation, you were going through a very extreme emotional state, weren't you? Yes, Graphia told me the same thing. Naruto nodded his head. If you're in an extreme danger state, Naruto-sama, Revel will have a massive boost in power in order to fight and protect you, Raven informed him, but if you're in an extreme emotional state, depend on which feeling you are having and you're licking. Naruto's cheeks became a little red because of Lady Phoenix's choice of words. Physically and mentally she will change. Ravel, can you tell me what you feel from the bond between you and Naruto-kun? Lord Phoenix spoke up, looking at his daughter. He's sad, really sad, and Naruto-kun needed someone to lean on, someone that cared for him and could make him pour all his heart out, she said softly, smiling at her fiancés. Let me ask you this, Naruto-kun, what is the best way to cheer up a man in his desperate state? Raven asked, and Ravel's cheeks became tomato red. The now young woman grabbed the bed sheet and tried to hide her face behind it. Her big blue eyes were trying not to meet Naruto's cerulean orbs. Sex. However, Graphia was the one who answered that question. The maid kept a very straight and stoic face when she said that, so it made the word 10 times more effective to both Naruto and Ravel. Well, damn, he muttered. Naturally, this is what she will look like in a few years, Naruto-kun, Lady Phoenix said. The bond between you two are very sacred and powerful, it is also very smart and like a living being. One way or another it will make you two perfect for each other, and in this situation where the male need to have a harem, the bond will shape the female in order to make her the #1 position in his heart. I need a drink, Naruto muttered, he was too young for this. You should rest for now, Ravel. Lord Phoenix stood up from his position and walked toward his wife. Your brain still needed a few more hours to get familiar with your new body, a good night's sleep will speed things up. I understand too, Sama. Ravel smiled and lay down to the bed. She will realize on you for the next few days, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded his head at Lord Phoenix's words. She will have to get used to her new body and what she could do with her newfound strength. Even this version of maturing didn't give her a boost as great as in the situation when your life is threatened. She is a lot stronger than before, I tell you. After a few hours Ravel will return to her normal age, Lady Phoenix said, but from now on she will be able to get access to this new form of her. You're very strong, Naruto-kun, so help her get used to her new power. I understand, Lord Phoenix. Lady Phoenix. Naruto nodded his head. After making sure Ravel had fallen asleep and her parent teleported away, Naruto and Graphia silently left the room, closing the door as quietly as they could behind them, making sure not accidentally bother the girl. The girl, like Naruto, already got a very rough day. Naruto-kun. Naruto turned his head around and saw Rias waiting for him. Yubaluna was also present with a worried expression on her face. It looked like everyone had returned to their training. How is she? She's fine now, both girls sighed in relief at the same time. I can't believe Phoenix's sacred bond could do something like that, Rias said. She still couldn't believe that the adorable Phoenix with bossy attitude had become a fully grown young woman. Probably her appearance alone was older than Rias. Me neither, Naruto nodded before looking at Rias. You should return to your training now, Rias-chan. Your match with Sona is coming near after all. Are you really okay, Naruto-kun? She asked, still a little worried about her boyfriend. I can. Now, he said firmly, and instantly Rias turned on her heel and headed to her own training ground with quick steps. I will see you later, Naruto-sama. Graphia leaned forward and kissed him softly on his cheeks, walking away and returned to her original duty at the head maid of Gremory family. Yubaluna. Naruto turned to his busty queen and saw her bowing his head to him when he applied her. Would you like to accompany me? I'm seriously need a drink right now. Of course I would love to, Naruto-sama. With that, the two of them left to the nearest but fanciest bar belonged to Gremory territory. Line break. Naruto couldn't get drunk, not if he wasn't drinking the wines of devils, which magically a lot stronger than humans' wine. Sitting in the VIP room, Naruto got the whole place for himself and a beauty next to him, filling the cup for him every time it became empty. Yubaluna, the busty bomb queen, who happened to be extremely attractive woman. So, Yubaluna. Naruto was quite drunk right now, but he still managed to keep a clear mind. You're there, watching my memories, weren't you? Yes, Naruto-sama, she nodded, filling the cup for him. She was quite amazed by how much her king could drink. A half of what Naruto had gulped down his throat could seriously send someone into an extremely drunk state, her former master to name a name. Don't tell the other girls, all right, Naruto told her with a serious tone, making Yubaluna widened her eyes in surprise. They have their own life, they don't need to worry about mine. You girls are my family, yes. Naruto smiled and grabbed the bottle of wine from Yubaluna's hand, filling her cup much to her surprise. I don't want any of you to get worried about me just because I found out the reason why I could walk on the water. He chuckled at his own joke. Here, drink up. Thank you, Naruto-sama. Yubaluna took the glass gratefully from Naruto's hand and drank it all at once with him at the same time. By the time Naruto finished his 6th bottle of wine with Yubaluna, he was completely drunk and she was no better than him. Because mentally devil was stronger than human, drinking too much didn't make them pass out right away. Instead, it made their true devil's nature to come out. Naruto was a man with a troubled background, who went through a lot in a single day. And Yubaluna was the queen who adored her master dearly. Her feeling for him was still a question, but right now, all she cared about was that he was sitting right next to her, looking at attractive as always. There is a lemon here, link is in the description if you want to read it. Naruto woke up with his head arched in pain. He knew that he shouldn't drink so much like last night. Even though Naruto could hold his ground pretty well against liquor and alcohol better than most, devil's wine was something you shouldn't underestimate. Putting his hand on his forehead, Naruto ran his hands through his hair. While the consequence was a bit hard to handle, it was totally worth it. It helped him forget all of the negative feeling he felt yesterday after experiencing his past once again. However, it didn't take long for Naruto to realize he was completely naked. What the? The blonde muttered in shock and began to look around. He saw his bed, his room at Uzumaki residence. The blonde didn't remember to come here last night, nor did he remember he got a habit of sleeping naked like Rias. Then, something caught his eyes. On the ground was a purple thong, lying on top of a pile of clothes and jewels. It didn't take him long to recognize that purple red, blue tunic top and those jewels belonged to whom. But he didn't see her anywhere. Putting on his boxer, Naruto stretched his shoulders and body before calling for his sensing power. After knowing the true origin of his strength and experienced them once more time, Naruto was able to use them better than before because he understood his power now. Feeling her present at his kitchen, Naruto quickly headed down to the first floor. He did remember asking Yubaluna to accompany him last night, but after his 5th bottle of devil's wine, Naruto could not remember what he did afterward anymore. But he got the feeling about what the two of them did last night after seeing Yubaluna standing in the kitchen, wearing only his shirt, which was a little short for her tall body. She was making a very simple breakfast for him with bacon, eggs and toasts. From the way she was frying the egg, Naruto could say that she was a professional in cooking. Yubaluna was enjoying her time of making breakfast for her master when she suddenly felt a strong arm wrapped around her hip and a pair of lips landed on the crook of her neck. "Did you have a good night's sleep?" he asked gently. "Yes, Naruto-sama," Yubaluna said with a smile. "I hope you're satisfied with me, Naruto-sama. You're really drunk last night." "Yeah, luckily I had my queen with me." He lifted the shirt up and put his hand on her bare hip. "We should return soon, Naruto-sama. Revel-sama probably woke up by now." Yubaluna moaned at the feeling of Naruto's hands on her body. "Thank you, Yubaluna," he whispered into her ear, "for being there for me last night." "Anything for you, Naruto-sama." She turned around, looked into his eyes before closing the gap between them, and their lips met once again, a passionate kiss. Line break. "Are you sure about this, Revel?" Naruto asked, standing in front of Revel Phoenix, in her normal age. "Yes, Naruto-sama, please spar with me," she said confidently, determination burning in her eyes. "Please don't go easy on me." Revel and Yubaluna was the ones Naruto paid special attention to, since the queen was the strongest piece in the evil piece system and also the most potential one, while Revel was the one who could use his power to strengthen herself, kind of like a jump card. Because he couldn't be around all of them at the same time, the other girls got his clones to help them in training, not that they minded since clones Naruto were more or less him. "Then go for it." Naruto nodded and got into stance. Yubaluna stood at the sideline and paid attention to the fight. She could see that her master's stance was slightly different than before. The way he carried himself was also much sharper. Maybe knowing himself being a ninja would affect his fighting style. Both Revel and Yubaluna could see that. The youngest Phoenix nodded her head before closing her eyes, growing a pair of fire wings behind her back. She then opened her eyes wide and those blue orbs shone brightly. Her flaming wings started to materialize into actual wings of Phoenix with golden feather before flapping gently, lifting Ravel's body off the ground. The young and petite girl, in a flash of light she became a fully grown young woman. Naruto knew that she couldn't hurt him, so sparing between them was meaningless since her attacks couldn't burn or even hurt him, but Naruto knew that he could avoid those attacks, or whenever it hit, he would act like he was hurt because of it. "Here I go, Naruto-sama," Revel said loudly and raised her hands. Her grandmother was the only Phoenix in the history went through this change before her, so more or less Revel got the basic idea of what she could do in this form. Yubaluna gasped and almost stood up when fire began to form above Ravel's head, but it didn't form into the usual trademark fireball of Phoenix clan but an actual Phoenix. An actual, fire, living Phoenix. "Holy," Naruto muttered at the gigantic bird of fire flying above Revel. That was the most amazing thing he had ever seen in his life. The girl then brought her hand down and pointed at Naruto. The bird, like it could read her thought, flew down and headed straight at him. The blonde's eyes hardened and was about to dodge when suddenly, the fire phoenix lowered itself down very close to the ground. To his shock it began to explode. Any place the bird flew by, The ground exploded like it was dropping multi-fire bombs down to the ground. Naruto quickly jumped out of the way when the phoenix was right in front of him, but his foot was caught in its flaming wings. Because of their bond, it didn't mean anything to Naruto, but he doubted the temperature was lower than the hottest fire he could make. Before Naruto could even return his eyes to Revel, he saw another phoenix heading to him while howling out loudly and angrily. This one, however, attacked in a very different way than the previous one. By twisting its body in the air, the fire phoenix created a big fire tornado head straight at him and would do a lot of serious damages. Seriously, Naruto cried as he dodged the phoenix, this is just a boost in power? This is a massive boost in power. He dodged again, this time it was a fireball. Naruto-sama, Yubaluna spoke up, maturing only happen when you're put into a state of extreme dangerous situation or emotional state. When you think about it, someone as strong as you will hardly be put into a situation like that, but it does happen. The bond will boost Revel so she will be as strong as or even stronger than I am in order to protect me. Naruto nodded his head. In this case, while it wasn't that great, Revel is a lot stronger because of maturing affected her age. It was terrifying. To think in a few years Revel would be this powerful. Maturing also give me the true power of Phoenix, Revel said with a smile. This is the evidence that you love me and accept me, Naruto-sama. You allowed a young phoenix like me spread her wings. She then raised her hands and formed a bow of fire in her right hand. Now I can use the true power of Phoenix to support you. Seriously, this is too much. Naruto nodded before catching a fire arrow shot by Revel. Oh well. Naruto swung the Triprongs kunai in his hands before throwing it at Revel. The girl widened her eyes, knowing full well what that kunai could do, and quickly shot a fireball out to destroy it before it could get to her. But to her shock, the Triprongs kunai suddenly duplicated. These are simple tricks of mine, Naruto smirked. At least 100 clones of the original kunai was created and aimed at Revel, who widened her eyes in shock and put her hands together, creating a wave of fire at them in hope of destroying them. Naruto was right, her flame was way hotter than the original fire of Phoenix Clan. It melted his kunais into hot liquid almost instantly. He would need to get serious if he wanted to land a hit on her. Yubaluna, he asked the queen sitting at the sideline, you wanna join us? Me? She asked in surprise. I don't think. Two of you against your king, how's that sound? Nay. Naruto asked with a smile. Come on Yubaluna, I'm not going to wait forever, Revel said, smiling at the queen with her arms crossed. Sighing in defeat, a smile made it to the bomb queen's face as she stood up with her staff in hand. Her life sure had changed and got better ever since they were traded to Naruto. Naruto DxD, Rise of the Shinobi. Arc 1, Battle of the Youth. Chapter 1. Parties and Bonding. The day for Phoenix's party had come and Naruto couldn't help but feel extremely nervous. Why? Simply because this party was organized more or less to gather the entire members of Phoenix household, both from the main and the branch house, and to introduce Naruto Uzumaki, Ravel's fiancés, through a very sacred bond. It was like the day the boy showed himself in front of the parent of his girlfriend. The only difference was that Ravel's parent already knew about Naruto and approved their relationship. The pawn of Surzex Lucifer couldn't feel more nervous. Standing in front of the mirror, looking at himself wearing a black tuxedo, for the first time ever Naruto didn't wonder why his clothes didn't have a single line of orange. He was going to be introduced to the entire household of Phoenix as Ravel's fiancés, yet he was the guy who had a girlfriend from the house of Gremory, slept with his personal maid who was also the strongest queen of the underworld, did the same thing to his queen, and not to mention lusted after by many girls. Not the best way to show himself on front of his soon-to-be family-in-law. Naruto-kun, Rias Gremory opened the door slightly and walked in. This was after all their room, so Rias didn't have to ask him permission to come in. Oh hey Rias, Naruto smiled and turned around and faced her, only to have his breath caught by how stunning his girlfriend was. Of course, as the heiress of Gremory household, Rias was also invited to the party, so she dressed herself up with an elegant black dress, with the straps tied behind her neck. Rias also donned a beautiful necklace and wore her crimson bracelet on her wrist, also got her long crimson hair tied together at the back of her head. Wow Rias, you look awesome, Naruto commented, making Rias smiled. You too Naruto-kun, it's not everyday we have you dress up so formally like that, Rias said, coming close to Naruto and fixed Naruto's collar for him. She couldn't help but notice the lack of chan suffix in the way Naruto is calling now, after he got his memories back. Rias was sure that Naruto was the same boy that she was in love with. However, Rias and the other saw some difference in the way he carries himself, in the way he addresses them, and the way he talks to everyone. This young man, standing in front of her, wasn't the boy who was raised to have respectful manner. He was the same Naruto Uzumaki they followed in the memories. Rias, are you alright? Naruto asked, looking at her with curiosity. He could feel the change in her emotions and her mood as well. "I'm fine, Naruto-kun," Rias said to him. It just what?" he asked, using his hand to raise her head gently, looking into her beautiful blue-green eyes while smiling softly. "Now you knew your past, Naruto-kun." Rias trailed off. "I wonder what are you going to do now?" Naruto sighed and looked away for a moment. He was also wondering the exact same thing after all. Now he knew his past, his homeland, the true meaning behind his power as well as the true reason why he was sent to kill Rias when she was small. Part of him he wanted to do right was nothing but make the man, the one pulled him from his world, pay for what he did to him. Yet, part of him couldn't help but wonder what it would be like if he didn't come here and used as a weapon to start a new great war, going through multi-painful experiments in order to adapt to his best friend's power, what it would be like if he didn't meet Rias and the others. Would he become Hokage? Archived his dream? Would he also get the thing he is having right now and always wanted, a family? What about Hinata? The girl who followed and supported him from the very first days of his life? Even though he never acknowledged her, her mind never changed. Would he end up with her? So many questions, yet he could never answer even one of them. "I'm not going to lie to you, Rias," Naruto said. "It will be a lie if I said I don't want to return to my homeland." "Naruto-kun," Rias whispered to him with a small tone. "Maybe I will figure it out a way to get back." Naruto smiled to her, balling his hand into a fist. "I also have the feeling that sooner or later I will come face to face with this man, who took me from my world," he said strongly. Rias nodded her head. She was expecting him to say that after all. Even though 17 years had passed since Naruto was pulled away from his world, it wouldn't be Naruto if he didn't want to return to the place where he was born. Knock knock knock. "Naruto-sama," Graphia's voice could be heard at the other side of the door. "Your peerage is here." "I will come down in a minute, Graphia," Naruto said loudly and smiled to his girlfriend, offering his hand to her. "Let's go, Rias." The young lady nodded her head before following Naruto. For now, she just needed to enjoy her time with her boyfriend and support Naruto in every way, every time he need. Line break. When the girls of Naruto's peerage saw Naruto walked into the room with Graphia and Rias followed behind him, they immediately lined into a line and bowed their head to him respectfully, saying all together, "Hello, Naruto-sama." They then turned to Rias and gave her the same respect. "Rias-sama." "Hey girls," he smiled to them, "and stop calling me Naruto-sama, you girls are my family, right?" This surprised the girls greatly. Before, Naruto didn't have any problem with them address him with respectful tone and suffix. After all, it was common knowledge for weaker to show respect to your king when you were his servant. Rias turned to Graphia and sent her a meaningful look, of which the maid understood immediately. Ravel and Yubaluna also understood the reason behind this sudden change as well. "Say it, Naruto," he told them, pronounced his name slowly like he was teaching little kids. "Naruto." The girls looked very troubled by this. Luckily for them, Graphia stepped up to the rescue by nudging Naruto hard on his rib. "Naruto-sama is not feeling well today," Graphia said calmly while Naruto was holding his side, gasping in pain, "so please don't mind him," the silver-haired maid finished, making everyone's sweat dropped. "Are you okay, Naruto-sama?" Ravel asked, approaching him. She was wearing a purple dress with matching gloves and black boots, and held a pink folding fan, the same dress she wore during her brother's wedding party before Naruto crashed it. "I'm fine, Ravel," he breathed and got back to his feet, feeling the pain slowly fading away much to his relief. Graphia never held back when she tried to punish her master. "Anyway, you girls ready?" he asked, looking at his peerage. "Of course, Naruto-sama," they chorused once again. As his peerage and also formerly the peerage of Riser Phoenix, the third oldest son of Phoenix household, their presence was very important during party like this. "Good, yeah, let's go." Naruto turned on his heel, but he was met with the cold silver eyes of Graphia Lucifuge, standing right on his path with her usual calm and emotionless expression. "The portal is that way, Naruto-sama," she told him calmly and pointed her hand to the other side of the room. "Oh, alright then, sorry." Naruto immediately turned around again and walked to the glowing magic circle to prepare for the teleportation. Everyone couldn't help but wonder if everything was alright with Naruto. He was a little distracted and his mind seemed elsewhere. "Ravel," Rias turned to the drill's hair girl, whispering with a low tone, "Is he alright?" "I don't know, Rias-sama." Ravel shook her head. "His emotion is a mess." Rias could only nod, looking at him warily. Graphia fumed, keeping her eyes on Naruto. After this party was over and so does the one tomorrow, she would have to have a talk with her master. Line break. At 6 o'clock sharp in the evening, Naruto Raven and his peerage, with Rias accompanied by her knight Kiba Yuto, the one who Naruto asked to accompany Rias during this party, arrived at Phoenix residence. Everyone including Ravel's parent and her oldest brother, the next heir of Phoenix clan, Ruvel Phoenix, was all waiting for them. Naruto could see many familiar faces like Sona accompanied by Saji, Sarorg Bale with a very beautiful girl with blonde hair tied in a ponytail, no doubt she was Sarorg's queen. Though he couldn't see Razor anywhere, last time he heard about him from Ravel, he was whimpering inside of his room with the blanket over his head, talking about something like a Kyuubi was going to eat him. Ladies and gentlemen, Lord Phoenix spoke loudly after the door was closed behind them. May I present you to my beautiful daughter Ravel Phoenix and her fiancés, who is none other than Naruto Uzumaki. The crowd clapped their hands, no one louder than his peerage, who went to a corner of the hall by the guidance of Yubaluna. Yo! While Ravel bowed her head to greet them, Naruto grinned and waved his hand to them. Soon, everyone started to talk with each other and enjoy the rich wines and delicious foods served by the servants of Phoenix household. Ravel's family was the one to approach the two after both Naruto and Ravel received a lot of blessing from the other high-class devil. Hey Naruto, Ruvel offered his hand to Naruto, which he took it and shook with a smile. Or should I call you brother-in-law? I think it is kind of soon to call me that, the younger blonde said with a smile. Nonsense young man, the heir of Phoenix smiled and patted Naruto on his shoulder before looking at Naruto with a somewhat serious face. If you make my sister cry I swear I will burn. Oni-sama. Ravel called out loudly, stopping him. Naruto couldn't help but laugh slightly at this. Don't worry Ruvel-san, I won't. He grinned and gave a thumb up, putting his other hand on Ravel's head and patted her head gently, calming the young lady down. I see you're still treating her like a young child Naruto, Lady Phoenix said, but a smile then spread out on her face. But I hope it will change in a few years. Even right now, Naruto was 30 centimeters higher than his fiancés. They looked like siblings more than future husband and wife. Come Naruto, Lord Phoenix motioned his hand to Naruto to follow him. I will introduce you to some of other members of Phoenix household. Naruto then followed the man and met a lot of members of Phoenix household, including Ravel's parent, the former Lord and Lady of Phoenix clan, who by far was the oldest members of the old Devil Society that was still remaining to this day due to immortality. They were actually the ones who suggested the engagement between Rias and Razor, so of course they wasn't very happy when they heard it was cancelled by a young man who came to crash the wedding down. But they did give Naruto their blessing. Because of Naruto's relationship with Gremory household, to them this was also a way to connect two families together. Ravel's grandmother, Lady Reina Phoenix, was one of the first female of Phoenix clan discovered the true nature of pureblood Phoenix's tear, as she was also the first one who went through the change, the same one Ravel went through. Naruto was also introduced to some other members of the Phoenix. After the introduction, the blonde moved himself into a corner and grabbed a drink, silently enjoying his own space while watching Ravel talking with her grandparent. What's on your mind, Naruto-san? He turned to the right and saw Sarorg standing next to him, also with a glass of wine in his hand. Nothing much, Naruto shrugged his shoulder, just thinking how much my life had changed, that all. From a street brat to one of the most desired devil. Yeah, I don't think that kind of thing is going to be easy to think about? Sarorg joked. More or less, Naruto chuckled before looking at Sarorg. By the way, just call me Naruto-san, make me feel like an old man, Sarorg. Very well then, Rias' cousin smiled. You're going to face Zephyrdoor after Rias and Sona's fight, aren't you? Naruto asked and Sarorg nodded. What is your plan against him? Easy, we'll overpower them at their best, Sarorg said with a smirk. Just like with any other peerages, I will defeat every single one of them to get to you, Naruto. Sarorg turned to Naruto and grinned. Ho, Naruto said in amusement, are you sure Sarorg? Not that I am confident in myself or my peerage's strength or anything, but, do you know that there is one team is also very eager to face me? Naruto turned his head to look at Rias, who was talking with Ruvel, both the future heir of a big clan. I know about Rias and her peerage, especially that boy Issei Hyadukuin, Sarorg nodded, but what about your peerage Naruto? Not boasting or anything, but back then when they're still Razor's servants, they are not very strong. Naruto couldn't help but agree. It was the truth. Back then when the girls were still Razor's peerage, most was defeated by Rias' peerage when they were still inexperienced with raiding game, and with 4 members only. If not for Phoenix Tears, what would happen if Rias got the support of Akino and Issei? Would they still lost against Razor? However, it was a different story right now. Under his care, the girls was stronger than ever. You will be surprised of how much they improved, Sarorg, Naruto smirked. I will be waiting for that. Hopefully my last match will be against you, Naruto. The young man, black-haired man, laughed before gulping down the last of his wine. Now if you excuse me, I think my queen is looking for me. He then walked to the blonde with ponytail, who was looking around searching for him. Naruto also quickly finished his drink and returned to the party. Line break. At his own training ground, Naruto could be seen sparring with his rook, Shuelan, and Isabella. Both girls were fighting against him with the speed and agility that were completely surpassed what they originally capable of a few months ago while was still under Razor's control. Their punches, kicks were not only fast, but extremely powerful as well, aiming at every fatal point on the body and fought synchrony with each other like they shared the same mind. Even Naruto, who was in Sannin Moto, was having a hard time keep up with the speed they were processing. His training method for them was working very nicely, and Naruto couldn't control his surprise when he found out just how good these two were when they fought side by side. Blocking Shuelan's fist, the blonde gritted his teeth when he was forced back a little. That punch just then packed a huge amount of strength behind it, and it was aimed to his heart. If he didn't block, it would cause some serious damage to his internal organ. Right now he was reconsidering about allowing them to fight him like they were going to kill him. Before Naruto could return Shuelan's attack, the girl made a backflip, revealed an Isabella who was crouching down low while running at him. The masked girl then put both of her hand down to the ground when he got right underneath him and sent her foot right into chin. The blonde was sent to the sky, but the cheapao-wearing girl of course was waiting for this. From the ground she took a strong leap, twisting her body into the air, and sent her foot, enchanted with fire, straight into his stomach. "Gah!" he screamed. "We're not done yet." They both shouted, and from underneath, Isabella crook her fist back and called for the power of Rook, at the same time calling for a massive tornado of flame swirling around her right arm, enchanting her fist with strength far beyond any attacks she made before. "Gya!" she cried out and punched him from below, sending her fist right into his back. Boom! The blonde immediately exploded, and in his place was a wooden log. However, Isabella pushed her fist forward, breaking the wooden log into 1,000 pieces and burned almost all of them away. We still can't get him." Shuelan landed gratefully down to the ground and whined. "Yes, you're Shuelan." The Chinese girl flinched when she heard Naruto's voice from behind her and the feeling of cold steel against her throat. Looking down slightly, she saw Naruto's hand holding a kunai, with the blade pressed against her throat. "Naruto-sama," Isabella gasped. "Nice job, girls." He removed the kunai, letting Shuelan turned around. "That is some amazing moves. Did you girls come up with it?" he asked, putting the knife away. "Yes, Naruto-sama," Shuelan nodded. "I thought that combo would be enough, but do not feel so down. It won't work against me, but it could immediately eliminate a piece in the game." Naruto encouraged them with a smile. "We understand, Naruto-sama." Isabella nodded her head and both rooks smiled. "Good, let's continue." He smiled and got to the stance again. Both girls raised their fists and charged at Naruto at once. Line break. "I ban you two from wearing that schoolgirl from this point, Naruto," his clone actually said bluntly, pointing his hand to the two cat girls, "and I, Enli, and you Shiraya, from wearing that stripper outfit." He pointed to the dark-skinned medic who looked god-smashed by his declaration. "But they're cute, Naruto-sama." Lee, the redhead, whined playfully, swaying her body side to side, and of course with no bra and only an overly revealing outfit, her sizable tits followed as well. "I'm perfectly fine with this outfit, Naruto-sama," Shiraya said softly. "No, absolutely not," he said, then grabbed a box under his feet and gave it to his pawns. "Wear this, I personally made this for you girls." Their eyes immediately sparked up by his declaration. "Really?" they cried in happiness, and both jumped to wrap their arms around his neck, pressing their twin chest into his side. "Thank you, Naruto-sama." "It's my pleasure, girls," he smiled. Line break. "No. More. Chainsaw." Ie and Nell, yet another twin of his peerage, cried at the same time after taking turns saying the words in the same speech. "Yes," clone Naruto said with a smirk, "no more chainsaw." He looked down at them and flicked both on the forehead. "Too violent." "But, what do we support to use now?" they asked, looking at the destroyed chainsaws underneath their feet, something Naruto took pleasure in destroying. "These babies, of course." Naruto pulled out 2 long swords from the box. "Swords?" the twin asked. "Aren't Cirrus and Calormine is more suitable for them?" Ie asked curiously. "Not just sword." Naruto then spotted a tree. He raised his sword and made a slash movement. Ie and Nell's eyes widened when they saw the sword lengthened and became a whip, with the blade separated into smaller, triangle-shaped blade along the whip. The whip sword passed through the tree like it was nothing, cutting it down like it was just a piece of paper. More violent, of course. Naruto gave the twin the swords. "Now, careful with them. I will teach you girls how to handle them, so make sure to concentrate, all right?" "Yes, Naruto-sama," they cried at once, very excitedly. Line break. Naruto took the cup of tea from Maihi and brought it to his lip, drinking it slowly to enjoy the flavor. "Wow, delicious," he commented out loud. "This kind of tea could give Akino's a run for her money." "Thank you, Naruto-sama," the girl bowed her head traditionally. All around them, sitting in a traditional style, was the rest of Naruto's peerage, who already finished with their trainings and went to Maihi to rest and enjoy her delicious tea. Naruto-sama, Mira called out to him, "Do you think that we can win?" "Yes, we are, Mira." Naruto nodded his head, sipping the tea. "We'll win," he said. "Surely, with the way you girls are improving, I don't care which is the team that we're going to fight at the end, we will simply beat them and show the higher up that we are more than capable of." The girls all nodded their head with a smile. That night? Finally, it was the time for the party prepared by the Mao for young devils. Naruto was standing with his peerage at a corner of the room, smiling and giving anyone who stopped by at their group a friendly greeting. Of course, he was one of the many group in this floor received the most attention from others, though he couldn't help but glance to Ria's group. Kiba was, of course, surrounded by all the female devils, with Issei standing a little away from him crying in jealousy. Zenobia was trying to make Asia and Gaspar eat something, while skillfully holding a massive quantity of dishes. On top of the dishes were various extravagant foods. However, Kaneko was missing. "Wait here," Naruto told Yubaluna and Ravel before walking toward Rias, who was also looking around like she was trying to find someone, probably Kaneko. "Hey Rias, where is Kaneko?" he asked, looking around to search for the petite girl. "I don't know, Naruto-kun," Rias said while shaking her head. She was very worried for her servant, who wasn't acting very normal lately. "I will go search for her," Naruto told Rias. "You wait here, all right?" For some reason he got a rather bad feeling about this. Turning around, Naruto immediately went into Sannin Moto in just a second. Focusing on Kaneko's magical signature, he quickly spotted her at the forest outside the building. But Naruto's eyes widened in shock the moment he felt the second magical signature from within the forest. Naruto immediately got out of the hall and ran as fast as he could to Kaneko. Because the feeling he got from that second magical signature was the feeling of another senjutsu user. Kuroka, Kaneko's sister, was here. The chain with the nine-tails fox and black cat snuggling glinted in the light. Naruto DxD, Rise of the Shinobi. Arc 1, Battle of the Youth. Chapter 2. Mischievous Black Cat. "I told you to not come with me, Rias," Naruto said to the crimson-haired girl who was flying next to him with her black wings out. "Kaneko is my servant," Rias said firmly. "She is my responsibility, you know." "Very well then," Naruto said and sped up. He could feel Kaneko's as well as the other senjutsu user's magical signature, which was approaching Kaneko with a very fast pace. Why Kuroka was here, Naruto didn't know, but he got the feeling that she was here for Kaneko. After Naruto and Rias had advanced through the forest for several minutes, they finally found the little cat girl. Standing in the middle of the forest, Kaneko was restlessly turning her head back and forth in the middle of the forest as if looking for something. But before Naruto could approach her, Rias grabbed his body and pulled him to hide behind a tree. The blonde turned to the girl, looking at her questionably, but only Rias put a finger on her lips, telling him to stay silent. "She can sense me," Naruto told her, but nonetheless he deactivated Sannin Moto and concentrated in hiding his power. "She is also a senjutsu user, there is no point in hiding." But before Rias could say anything, they both heard an unfamiliar voice belonged to a female. "It's been a while, hasn't it? You." Kaneko's whole body shook in violent surprise. "Hello, Chiron. It's me, your Wani-chan." Kuroka, one of the most wanted criminal of the underworld, made herself known to her sister. Kuroka was a young woman with a voluptuous figure, long black hair with split bangs, two black cat ears on top of her head and hazel eyes with cat-like pupils. Her attire consisted of a black kimono, a yellow obi, a set of golden beads, and an ornately detailed headband. The kimono also featured a red interior and it was open at her shoulders, giving view to her large breasts, which in term of size, rival even Rias and Akino. Naruto was a little surprised by the way Kaneko's sitter was addressing her, but figured that it was Kaneko's real name. "Kuroka-nisama? Wani-chan is very impressed that you came this far following after this black cat that sneaked into the party." Naya, the cat woman, said playfully. She was lying on a tree branch, looking down as Kaneko with her tails moving side to side. "Ne-sama. What is this about?" There was anger in Kaneko-chan's voice. But Kuroka just smiled. "Don't make such a scary face. I just had some minor business to take care of. I heard that the devils were holding a big party here, you know? That's why I was a little interested." Nyan, Kuroka winced and waved her hand cutely. Naruto then hardened his gaze when he realized another person was coming into the area. "Ha ha ha ha, could it be that you're a member of the Gremory group?" It was Biko. "Cow's Bridage," Rias said in shock at the presence of Vala's partner. "Even if you erase your presence, it's useless. With people like me and Kuroka who know senjutsu, we can approximately detect you with just a slight variation in the flow of your spirit." Biko said with a smirk, "Please come out." Rias turned her head to Naruto, giving him a meaningful look before nodding her head. The pawn of Surzex Lucifer and his girlfriend stepped out from their hiding spot, with Rias' arms crossed across her chest. Seeing Naruto, Biko widened his eyes in surprise while Kuroka's eyes sparked with excitement. Well, damn, of all the people that could be here, Biko managed to force a smile. He didn't expect the one who was hiding to be Naruto Uzumaki, the current strongest pawn and the servant of Surzex Lucifer. Naruto Naya. Kuroka cried out happily. Nisama, Bucho. Kaniko's eyes widened in shock at the presence of Naruto and Rias. Let me take care of this Kaniko, he said, putting a hand on her head and patted her gently before pushing her to behind him, Biko. Naruto ignored Kuroka's cry and called out for the descendant of Sun Wukong. How's Valley, he asked. Pretty much, Biko nodded his head. He then turned to Kuroka and looked at her with a grin. Hello Kuroka, he greeted her, so I finally meet my secret fan, am I right? Naya, she meowed and sat up, my favorite Sannin Naya, the cat girl said cheerily. Tell me Kuroka, Naruto looked at her, what is the difference between the senjutsu I am using and your senjutsu, he asked. Is it different from magic and the sorcery used by magicians? Rias also followed, glaring at both terrorists. Yes, senjutsu is different from magic and sorcery. The biggest difference is that senjutsu stresses the importance of something called chakra, the aura that is the great original power that flows into one's spirit, in other words one's life force, and turns it into a constant current. It's a power that is both similar yet different from the magic of demons and the light power of angels. Its direct destructive power can't match that of magic or the power of light, but senjutsu can make use of the unknown part hidden within plants, animals and people. For example, if one learned senjutsu, it's said that they excel at reading the flow of someone's spirit, of their aura, and that they can also grasp the movements of a faraway target to a certain degree. We can also control the flow of spirit and can reinforce both the interior and exterior of our bodies, or disturb the spirits of all the surrounding trees, make them bloom, or make them wither. Nyan. Senjutsu is a skill that manipulates the flow of life, after all. We can disturb our opponent's spirit, and inflict damage to their life force by cutting it. Because the methods for repairing the disorder to one's life force is limited for the magic of demons and the sorcery of magicians in comparison, this attack method almost always results in death. Nyan. She then looked at Naruto, tilting her head to the side, but you already knew this, didn't you? I did some research, Naruto said, closing his eyes. At that moment, Kuroka widened her eyes slightly when the natural energy began to be absorbed into Naruto's body. This was after all the first time they came face to face, but Kuroka couldn't help but feel warmed by the chakra flowing within him anyway. Why are you here? Is this a terrorist attack? No, we didn't come down here for such a thing. Biko shook his head, it's just that a standby order has come out in the underworld. Me and Kuroka are off duty right now. When the order was given, Kuroka suggested visiting the devil's party. Since she likely wouldn't return easily, I came along with her too. Okay? Is that so? Naruto asked, but didn't lower his guard down. Kuroka, let's go back. Biko turned around and tired to reason with the black cat, we're at the disadvantage here. Yes, let's return. But, I'll take Chiron and Naruto with me. Nyan. I highly doubt that, Naruto said. He could feel Kaniko's body shook behind him. He knew that she was scared. Tell me, you wanted to bring her because she's your sister, or because of the power flowing within her? Naruto asked coldly, and both Chaos Bridge members couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Both, since I didn't bring her with me last time, Kuroka said. What happen if I won't allow it? Naruto asked, smirking with his eyes half lifted. Well, seriously, we will fight you. Naya. Kuroka said, jumping down to the ground, I think both of us is enough to take on you and little red head behind you. This child is my servant. Rias spoke up loudly, I also won't let you put even a single finger on her. Era, what are you saying? Naya? She's my little sister. I have the right to love her. A high-class devil like you doesn't have that privilege. Kuroka said that while glaring at Rias, who returned with her own heat glare. Since you're so troublesome, I'll kill you and take them, Nyan. At that instant, Naruto and the other felt they were seized by an indescribable sensation, the same kind of feeling whenever you were transported to somewhere else through the use of magic power. Even though the surrounding didn't change, Naruto could see the change in the air and the mood. Kuroka, so you learned not only senjutsu, jujitsu and devil magic, but also the skill to control space? Rias said that while making a sour face. I didn't go as far as learning how to control time, but I have fairly picked up on how to control space. If I use the essentials of barrier techniques, it's relatively easy, after all. I covered this entire forest with a barrier and isolated it from the outside world. Nyan. That's why even if we do flashy things here, it won't leak outside and devils from outside won't come in. You're going to get pleasantly killed here by us and say goodbye, Naya. Very well then, Naruto stepped forward. If you seriously think that you can come here and take Kaneko away, prove it. At that instant, the ground underneath him cracked and the amount of energy he was releasing was nothing but unimaginable, so much that his chakra became noticeable, surrounding around his body. Both Biko and Kuroka sweated nervously. Well then, Biko brought out his staff. I also wanted to fight you, Naruto Uzumaki-san, so please don't kill me, alright? Depend on how much you guys pissed me off, Naruto said simply before stomping his foot onto the ground so hard that he made it cracked, charging forward. Kintown! Biko shouted out, making a gold cloud appeared at Biko's feet and he then flew straight at Naruto. Naruto calmly brought out his kunai and brought it back behind his head. Extend! Nyoibo, the descendant of Sun Wukong cried, making his staff extend, became longer and longer heading to Naruto. But the blonde acted faster. He threw the kunai at Biko with supersonic speed, way faster the extend speed of Biko's staff. Biko widened his eyes and managed to move his head out of the way in time, but his right cheek was scratched by the blade of his kunai. And at that very moment, he finally recognized what kind of kunai Naruto just threw at him. It was a triprongs kunai. Naruto Uzumaki's infamous weapon. When Nyoibo was inch from his face, Naruto disappeared in a flash of yellow and not even a millisecond later, he reappeared behind Biko with his right hand crooked back, right at the position of his kunai, forming an orange Rasengan within his palm. Rasengan! Naruto cried and brought the swirling orb down Biko's back, smashing him into the ground violent. The descendant of Sun Wukong could only cry out in pain when Naruto grinded him down farther and farther down to the ground. Naruto's head snapped to the side, looking at Kuroka who was still standing still. He deactivated the Rasengan and took a strong leap at her, grabbing her neck with his hand and pushed her down to the ground, hard. All that happened in just a matter of second. Naruto was so fast that neither Rias nor Kaneko could see him move. Naruto kept Kuroka down on the ground, with his hand on her neck, completely oblivious that her kimono had fallen down to her belly during the rough movement of him, exposing her entire cleavage. Even though she was pinned down by Naruto and completely helpless, Kuroka was grinning. "What are you going to do to me now?" she asked with a husky tone. "Why didn't you attack with Biko?" Naruto asked emotionlessly. Ignore her question once again. "Because I want to fight you myself," she said, smiling at him. "Especially someone like you." The black cat girl put her hands on his cheeks and her body suddenly glowed. Somehow in a blink of an eye, Kuroka was able to remove herself from Naruto's hand and sat up a little to bring her lips to his. Naruto was completely stunned by her action while Rias and Kaneko dropped their mouth down to the ground in shock. His body froze in shock when Kuroka's tongue made its way into his mouth. Her tongue swirled around his tongue, exposing every part of his mouth before drawing an amount of saliva from him and gulped it down her throat. "Naruto!" Rias' shout reactivated his mind and Naruto, with his iron-hard willpower, pushed her back down to the ground just in time to see a key orb appeared in her hand. Dune! She shot the orb at his chest. Naruto quickly teleported himself back to Rias' side, successfully avoiding a nasty injure from her attack. And I was enjoying that, Naya." Kuroka stood up and licked her lips. "You taste good, by the way." "I will take that as a compliment." Naruto nodded his head, using the back of his sleeves to wipe away the drool around his mouth, trying not to stare at her exposing breasts. "Kuroka, may I ask you a question?" Rias spoke up. Now that Biko was defeated by Naruto, if he wanted Kuroka wouldn't be much of a problem for him. "Why didn't you take Kaneko with you that day?" "It's because a Yukai cannot help another Yukai." Kuroka said simply. "However, this time, I simply want Chiron because I want another piece under my control. I can understand Chiron's power better than a red-haired one-isan like you, you know?" Kaneko shook her head at her sister's words. "No, I don't need that kind of power. I don't need a dark power like that. I don't need a power that brings misfortune to people like that." She started to tremble and shed tears. Rias then hugged Kaneko-chan. "Kuroka, you who had been blinded by power left a wound on the heart of this girl that won't disappear for her whole life. After you killed your master and left, this child saw hell." Rias spoke up strongly. "When I first met her, there were no feelings left in her. Kaneko was betrayed by you, who was her only family to her, lost a future to rely on, and was despised and abused by other devils, to the point where she was going to be disposed of. She saw many harsh things. That's why I will show her many fun things. This girl is Tuju Kaneko, Rook, of Rias Gremoris Group. My important servant devil. I won't let you put even a single finger on her." "Kuroka," Naruto spoke up, "you said you understand Kaneko's power than Rias, but can you understand your own sister more than me?" He said, "What is she like? What are her most favorite foods? What is her dream? What is the thing she wants the most in the world? Kuroka made a bitter expression. You can't call yourself her sister if you can't even be there with Kaneko when she is crying, Naruto said calmly, completely dropped his guard. Like you, I am also a senjutsu user, but unlike you, other than control her, I will teach her to use that power to protect her family, the one she cared about. He turned around and walked away. Rias and Kaneko looked at him unsure for a moment, turning her eyes to Kuroka cautionally before following Naruto as well. Goodbye, Wani-sama, Kaneko whispered to her sister, using her hand to wipe away the tears. After the Gremory group disappeared, returned to the party, Kuroka let out a bitter sigh, her mood dropped and her ears laid flat on her head. What Naruto said was true, she couldn't agree more. She knew nothing about Chiron, or Kaneko as she was now called. The only thing she knew that she made the right choice that day. Kuroka turned to Biko, who was still unconscious on the ground. Time to go home, she whispered and pulled her kimono up to cover her breasts. Today business was a total failure. Not only she couldn't bring her sister with her, but she was also unable to make the first good impression in the Senin's eyes. Maybe next time, she thought. However, at that moment, after she returned her black kimono to its original state, a small piece of paper fell out from the sleeves of her kimono. Looking at it curiously, the black-haired woman reached down and picked the paper up and opened it. Her ears instantly perked up in excitement as what was written inside. My deepest apology for my harsh words, Kuroka, but they are necessary. I know the true reason behind your action that day, Kuroka. I did a lot of research with your case and it actually not that hard to figure it out what kind of a devil your former master was. In term of devil, you're a criminal, but in term of a sister, you're the best sister in the world any girls like Kaneko could find. Don't worry about Kaneko, I promise to take care of her and teach her how to use senjutsu properly, and I will try to do whatever I can to redeem you from your past actions, so that you can reunion with Kaneko happily. Again, sorry for my harsh words. Hope to see you again in the future, Kuroka. Naruto Uzumaki. P.S. I really like that armband you made for me, it is very cute, thank you. Naya. Kuroka screamed out in joy, jumping up and down excitedly. This was everything she could ask for, after all. Naruto DxD, Rise of the Shinobi. Arc 1, Battle of the Youth. Chapter 3. If Sona is as smart as I heard her to be. Naruto said while scratching his chin. You guys are dead. Ravel, standing beside him, nodded her head rapidly at the horrible truth to Rias and her peerage. It was the night before the decisive battle with the Citri family. Rias and her peerage was gathered together in Naruto's room in order to have their last meeting before the final showdown. Hearing him saying something like that, Rias' only choice was dropping her mouth in shock. Senpai, what the hell are you saying? Issei screamed out, everyone thought. With the help of Naruto and the amount of deadly battle they faced so far, you could say that Rias and her peerage made a lot of great improvements. Truth to be told, Rias was actually quite confident in her chance of winning against her rival. But it seemed that Naruto didn't agree, not at all. Issei, the blonde suddenly pointed his finger to Issei. How's the state of your balance breaker? Yes. I've managed to get used to it. Issei shrugged his shoulder. True, but there are several conditions to it, right? Naruto asked, making Issei nodded his head. First, when you change into balance breaker, it takes time for the transformation to occur, and that is way too long. Moreover, when you have entered that waiting state, you can't use your sacred gear, and with someone who relies on boosted gear like you will be left defenseless and basically dead meat during those moments. Both doubling and transfer are impossible. Furthermore, you can only transform once per day, and even if you cancel the transformation before it ends, your sacred gear will be deprived of almost all its power. Issei nodded his head rapidly at his words. So, what's the time needed for the transformation in your case? 2 minutes. So the time was shortened thanks to your training and getting used to it. However, those 2 minutes are a matter of life and death. To put it bluntly, it's hardly useful in actual combat. Above all, the time until the transformation during which boosted gear can't be used is just too painful. Since there are a large number of people that can defeat you within those 2 minutes. You have to think of how you can take care of yourself until you transform. Those 2 minutes are your greatest weakness. Naruto pointed out before continuing. The normal boosted gears doubling and transfer are also important, since they have a wide range of uses. However, balance breaker is indispensable when fighting a powerful enemy. The normal state and the balance breaker state each have their advantages and disadvantages. So, for how long can you use balance breaker? Yes, at full, I can use it for 30 minutes. When I use my power, it decreases more. Normally, that's pretty good for your first time limit. That's the results of your training. However, in an official game, that is completely out. It's out of the question if it's just 30 minutes, and what's more decreases as you use it more. There will also be games with long stretches of distance and time. We have no choice but to increase your time limit from now on. Naruto then turned to his girlfriend, who then flinched when his eyes landed on her. Rias, Sona Citri knows about the Gremory group to some degree, right? Yeah, she understands us roughly. For example, she knows of ISE, Kiba, Akino, Asia and Zenovia's main weapons. The Crimson Era said while nodding her head. Video recordings of our battle with the Phoenix group were partly open to the public, after all. Furthermore, Gasper's sacred gear and Kaneko-chan's background have also come to light. Well, she knows roughly about all of you then. So, how much do you know about her side? I know the abilities of Sona, of her, Queen, the Vice President, and of several others of her servants. Though some of their abilities haven't been confirmed yet. Rias said, unsure. So you're at a disadvantage in that regard. Well, such a thing is fine for a game or an actual battle. That is often the case in both the games and in actual battles. There are also cases of a sacred gear evolving and transforming during battle. You should pay careful attention. The number of your opponents is 8. Yes, 1 king, 1 queen, 1 rook, 1 knight, 2 bishops, and 2 pawns, for a total of 8 enemies. It seems she still doesn't have a full set of pieces yet, but it's the same numbers as us. Naruto nodded his head before turning to Ravel and gave her a meaningful look, which she understood immediately and brought out a whiteboard with her magic. The rating game classifies players into different particular fighting types. Power, technique, wizard, support. Naruto began to draw. His knowledge about rating game was quite impressive to say the least because after all, he spent hours watching records of rating game matches as well as doing research about the game from various books. Out of these, Rias is a wizard type. The type that is superior in magic in general, so to speak. Akino-san is the same. Kiba is a technique type. He fights with speed and technique. Zenovia is a power type that excels in the area of speed. A player that aims for a one-hit kill. Asia and Gasper are support types. Also, if you classify them with even more detail, Asia is closer to a wizard type with her magic, while Gasper is closer to a technique type. Kaneko is a power type. And lastly, Issei. You're also a power type. However, you're also good at being a support type as well, with your gift, power. Naruto finished, to make it bluntly, this peerage's brawl with no brain, sorry Rias but that is the truth. Well, I guess. The things that power types have to be most careful of are, counters. A troublesome class among the technique types. That is the counter-type ability. There are counter-types even among the sacred gears, but when fighting an opponent who carries one, power types like ISE, Kaneko and Zenovia can have their situations turned around by a single counter blow. It's because counters return the opponent's power to them plus the power of the one who counters. When one is strong, it's natural for there to be damage just as strong. If there's a counter, I just have to overcome it with power. Zenovia said that bravely. However, Sensei shook his head. It's possible to overcome it with that, but it's another story when your opponent is a genius in that field and Sona is one of them. Naruto pointed out, avoid attacking as much as possible. It's better to face counter users with the spell user Akino, the technique user Kiba or Gasper with his special vampire abilities. Everything is a matter of compatibility. Power types are simply strong. But the risk is big for them when fighting against technique types. Naruto then turned to the leader of the group, Rias. If there are counter users in Sona Citri's group, they might run into Issei. If a counter eats up his enormous power, it will be an instant out. You need to come up with and refine some tactics for that. But, if the opponent is a female, the possibility of that is low. Ah yes, the freaking dress break. Naruto chuckled. By the way about Issei's balance breaker, Sona Citri definitely foresaw this with me at your side. You should be thoroughly careful. Since the possibility of you being crushed before you transform into balance break is high. But you guys also have one advantage in this battle. Naruto turned to them with a smile, that's other than Issei. Sona doesn't know just how much each and you have improved, especially Rias and Akino. You two are both wizards type, the ones who got great advantage over magics and also, you two are somewhat the core members of this peerage. Stay calm on the battlefield and figure it out a way to fight them, understood? We understood. The peerage chorused with a confident expression on their face. Man, I wonder if this is fair for my girls or not, Naruto said while putting the board out. You're too kind sometime, Naruto-sama. Ravel smiled at him while shaking her head, making Naruto shrugged. That's how I am, the blonde grinned.